Hello and welcome to the Hornet Talk Podcast. We are live on deadline day from Vicarage Road Stadium. There is loads of news to report this evening. It's been a hectic deadline day so far. Many deals going through. Nicholas Jackson is on the way to Bayern Munich. Kolo Muani has signed for Tottenham. Yeah, this is a mental day for football, as it always is on deadline day. Love the passion from a fan there. Well, without further ado, I just want to introduce my hosting team for this special. So alongside me, we have George Frakish and we also have Ted McKenzie. And they will be joining us throughout today's stream and all the way until 7 o'clock tonight when the deadline shuts. What are your thoughts on deadline day so far?
Such a mad transfer window so far, and there's going to be so much more in these last hours of the deadline day as we see Watford are closing in on a signing of this new right back from Sporting Charleroi. And I'll pass over to Ted now.
Deadline day is always a big day for the football team. It's always a big day for the agents. As we've seen in a couple hours closing, Nicholas Jackson refused to go back to Chelsea, and he went back to London. Push for Bayern Munich he's being moved back to Bayern Munich, as I saw a couple moments ago that his agent is pushing for this Bayern Munich deal. Yeah, well, a few hours ago we had the here we go from journalist Fabrizio Romano, who confirmed that Nicholas Jackson is on the way to Bayern Munich, one of the biggest deals this deadline day. But that isn't the biggest deal of deadline day, because at 30 past midnight last night we had the breaking news that Alexander Isak will join Liverpool for £130 million. And that is a fantastic signing for Liverpool. He's having his medical right now, and we expect an official announcement by 6 p.m. tonight. What are your thoughts on the Alexander Isak deal with Liverpool and Newcastle?
Oh my God, this is such a mad deal for Liverpool, as it is breaking the Premier League record, £130 million. This is honestly mad money for Newcastle, and I personally don't know why Liverpool are paying so much due to his attitude. But at the end of the day, it's all about what he can do on the pitch, and his off-the-pitch attitudes do and don't matter to some extent. I'll pass back to Caden.
Well, yeah, what we've got to remember with Alexander Isak is, yes, he has some behavioural issues. Obviously, he pushed for a move away to Liverpool, but Liverpool have just broken the Premier League record for Isak. So that's got to mean that, you know, he's always wanted Liverpool since he wanted to leave Newcastle, and Liverpool clearly obliged, and they've got themselves a new star striker to join French striker Hugo Ekitike. Now, we are going to be joined in a matter of moments by Harry Scarf. He runs a Spurs fan channel, and we're going to be talking to him all about Tottenham's transfer window and the breaking news today that Kolo Muani has signed for Tottenham Hotspur. That's a fantastic deal for Tottenham, and I'm sure Tottenham fans will be delighted when he makes his debut at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. George, how do you think Kolo Muani will do at Tottenham?
I'm on sort of a mixed vote about this deal, because apart from the World Cup final back in 2022, I haven't really seen much of him playing, so I don't know really what to expect from him, and I don't know if he's going to score a lot of goals like Ekitike has done so far, or he's just going to flop and not do very well within his first season in England.
Well, what we've got to remember is Kolo Muani, yes, he'll be new to the English game, but I think he can slot right into that Spurs side and be a crucial part of Thomas Frank's system. Ted, what do you make of Tottenham signing Kolo Muani?
Kolo Muani is a bit of a different one we've seen with players who have no experience in England, like Christopher Nkunku. You could say he's a flop, but you could also say he's good at times with Chelsea. He has had injuries at Chelsea, but when he plays, he was a decent player. You might see the same with Kolo Muani. But with all these players that haven't really had experience in the in English football, they can go cold and hot. It's like with Tottenham, all these new players being with no English experience, they're changing the tactics a bit, which you've seen with Ange Postecoglou when he first come in. All that years with Kane ball and all these pass games of Kane in hold-up play. The year he left and they had no experience of with all these clubs having information about Kane ball. With this new Ange Postecoglou ball, they was really struggling against Tottenham.
Well, what we got to remember is Thomas Frank, who is the new Tottenham manager, really wanted Kolo Muani to join, and the deal has been done. So time will tell whether it works out at Tottenham. But as we said, we will keep you up to date with all the latest news this deadline day. And as I said, in a matter of moments, we will be joined by Harvey. He runs a Spurs fan channel, and we will be getting all of his opinions on today's signings and all the signings from the Premier League. But in the meantime, let's talk a bit about Watford, seeing as we're here at the beautiful Vicarage Road Stadium. George, what have you thought of our window so far coming into the final hours?
Yeah, I think this has been a very good transfer window, to be honest, because all of you listeners do know that I do have a lot of love for Imran Louza, and I think we all expected him to leave in this summer, but surprisingly he has stayed and showed his passion for staying. But for all of our signings that we brought in, I think it's been incredibly good, because as we've seen from Nestori Irinkunde, he scored 2 amazing free kicks in 2 games, and I hope to see a lot more of that in the coming games. And with Lucas Bjerregaard, I can tell that he's going to be a proven goal scorer in this league for us this season.
Well, what we've got to remember is that Moscow put in a bid for Imran Louza, and that deal was worth $6 million. But due to sanctions in Russia, he could not join Moscow. But the other big transfer news of Watford this window was Georgi Chakvetadze. Now, he was rumoured to be going to Valencia, but sources tell us that Valencia only offered $4 million for the attacking midfielder. So, personally, I don't think that's enough. What do you think, George?
I don't really know how much I value him, but I think $4 million is a ridiculous offer, and this is just due to the amount of creativity that he can make when he is playing for Watford, because we know how much he can break in the attack for us and how crucial this can be. Because I think $4 million, that is such an understatement. I think minimum we should be getting at least 10 million, but yeah, 4 million, decline it as soon as you hear that offer.
Well, look, Ted, what do you think? Is Chakvetadze worth $4 million, or is he worth a lot more like I think he is?
You do see these players like Imran Louza, Chakvetadze. Clubs are offering low amounts, but they might be testing the waters a bit how much we do really want to sell him for. Like you see in other transfer windows, you might see a club try and get the big striker for cheap, but they might be testing the waters. They might say, we'll give you this, then the club go, no, we'll give you that. But it's like, but with Chakvetadze, I think 4 million is a bit too low. I'd go for around about 12 to 15 million from him, but I don't.
More than 15 million. Personally, for me, I would say he's more of a 20 to 25 million pound player. But I do see Ted's point in the sense of he might be worth 15 million, and that could be for the fact that his recurring foot injury that he's had many times, and other injuries that he's had along his career, and his stats from last season weren't necessarily the most impressive thing in the world. So we'll have to see what happens, and a big question for all us Watford fans is, will Chakvetadze end up staying at Watford by the end of this transfer window? Moving on away from Watford to bring you some more breaking news. Now, this is coming to us from Fabrizio Romano, and that is Nico Zaniolo to Udinese, and it's been given the here we go. He's now set to sign a new deal at Galatasaray ahead of an Udinese loan. Zaniolo is currently undergoing his medical, and he will move to Udinese before tonight's deadline, and that's massive news for Udinese fans. They've been searching for a right back, and they finally got his man. George, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that is a great signing for Udinese. As Watford's sister club, I do feel for them, as they have not had a great right back over the last few years. But now, seeing that they are bringing him in, I think as he's got PSG experience, for sure, and Galatasaray experience, I think this is a great signing for them.
Ted, what do you make of it? Zaniolo to Udinese.
Zaniolo to Udinese, I think it's a really brilliant deal. He has had experience in multiple leagues, like the Liga, and the Turkish league, and he's also going to the Italian league. And I think Galatasaray, they're a pretty decent side in the Turkish league. They've had players like Osimhen come to them, much others I could name, but I was just thinking off the top of my head only Osimhen. But I think Udinese, they've been looking for that right back for absolute years. I don't think in the last 6 or 7 years I haven't seen Udinese they have a proper right back like him. But him to sign, I think it's a really big signing, and maybe that loan deal can come a permanent in the future.
Well, I definitely think if he performs well, Udinese will definitely explore a permanent deal for Zaniolo in the January transfer window. But time will tell. Is he of the quality for the for the Italian league, or will he fail miserably? Moving on to some more transfer news from today, potentially the second biggest deal of today, Bayern and Chelsea seal new agreement for Nicholas Jackson. The deal is done, as we mentioned at the top of the programme. Loan with a buy clause with an element of an obligation to buy included in the deal for 2026, as Chelsea wanted. Jackson already agreed a 5-year deal at Bayern, and it's a €16.5 million loan fee. The deal is back on, so we have to, see how he does out in Germany, because in the English league, in the Premier League, a lot of people haven't rated him. But will it be the same in Germany, or will he fit in at Bayern? But what we have to remember is they've obviously got Harry Kane. Do you think that Jackson will fit into the starting 11, considering they've got Harry Kane?
No, I personally don't think that he'll get into the starting 11.
No matter how he plays within training. This is solely due to the quality that Harry Kane has got. As we've seen in previous
seasons, he's got 20 and 30 goals plus, and I think that's just unmatchable for Nicholas Jackson to get into the starting 11. And even if he was to go back to Chelsea, I don't think he'll even start, because João Pedro, as we've seen, he's been scoring a lot of goals and being clinical what they've needed.
Yeah, 100%. I think that Nicholas Jackson comes back to the English league, that he does play due to the form of João Pedro. Obviously, the former Watford man absolutely smashing it in Germany.
With Nicholas Jackson, it is he's had experience in the La Liga. He's now had experience in the Premier League, but it's a bit of a mixed emotions with Chelsea fans. My best mate is a Chelsea fan, of course, and he's saying he's a bit mixed about. He doesn't really know if he likes him or not. But I think a couple Chelsea, it's a bit mixed with the fan base. I think a couple Chelsea fans will miss him. A couple Chelsea fans won't, but couple Chelsea fans will miss him. Couple Chelsea fans won't, but with the loan deal, I think with Harry Kane, he's starting to age a bit now. He's starting to get a bit older. Maybe in January, or maybe next year in the summer transfer window, he may want to go, and they do want that 5-year deal with what they've agreed with Nicholas Jackson. But if he does end up coming back from his loan, I think the reason why he was supposed to come back to Chelsea was with the Liam Delap injury. But if he's refused, he wants to play for Bayern, and maybe he wants to stay at Bayern, we don't know yet. But we'll see to the end of the line if they want that 5-year deal or not.
Well, we know his heart is with Bayern, but it's whether Chelsea will actually let him go on the 5-year contract. He has gone to Bayern, but we don't know if it's going to be a full-on 5-year deal, because Chelsea are always, looking for different things. And I don't think that they will actually accept a 5-year deal, for the sheer fact that Liam Delap is injured. And once Liam Delap is back, then he can go. But right now, it's just not feasible, I don't think. On to one of the biggest transfer stories today and a saga across the summer. Liverpool today agree a deal to sign Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace. Deal in place for a fee over 35 million plus 10% sell-on clause included in the transfer package. Guehi agreed personal terms with Liverpool 1 month ago. Now all is done. George, how do you think Mark Guehi can benefit Liverpool?
Yeah, I think he'll incredibly benefit Liverpool, and this is just due to, I think, Virgil van Dijk will leave either in January or next summer, and that already proves to us that he will be getting a lot more game time than some people expect. And I think his England experience also massively helps. Yeah, I don't really know what to comment on it, to be honest.
Ted, what do you make of the signing of Mark Guehi to Liverpool? Obviously, they've been going for Guehi for a long time, and do you think Konate's up to it? Will Guehi get into the starting 11? Or will Konate still retain his place in the Liverpool starting 11?
It's a bit one with Mark Guehi, but do you see with Konate, he does run hot and cold, like a few times he does run hot and cold sometimes with Konate, but with Mark Guehi, it is basically a strength in the defence. Virgil van Dijk is looking to come out the door come January or summer, we don't know yet, but Mark Guehi, it depends if Konate does run hot and cold, but if he does, maybe he can get in the starting lineup, but so now I think Konate starts over him.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, I personally think Mark Guehi starts straight away because I don't think Konate has been up to it. Liverpool have looked a lot poorer at the moment when Konate has been playing, so I think Guehi is the perfect replacement. Now on to a deal you're probably all here for, and that is a right-back for Watford. Watford have agreed a deal to sign Jeremy Petrus as the replacement for Ryan Andrews. It's a £2 million deal plus add-ons. George, what do you make of that one?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really comment on it, but just off for 2 million, I really want him to be a good player because we've already got Jeremy Ngakia stabled as our starting fullback. And now Ryan Andrews has left the club. I think he will get more game time than some people expect. I expect him to come on at the latter parts of the games, and so then he can get a run in Championship football. But I think for the FA Cup, he will get a 90-minute run. But I don't know up until then, unless Jeremy Ngakia gets a suspension or is injured, like we past seen.
It's interesting. I don't think that Petrus will start straight away. I think Jeremy Ngakia will retain his place in that Watford team. But Petrus is a brilliant option to have and a brilliant replacement for Ryan Andrews. Obviously, it was sad to see one of our own, Ryan Andrews, go to Switzerland yesterday. But as he said in a video put out by the club, he thought it was time to go. And he's turned from a young boy into a man at Watford. But we wish him all the best. Ted, what do you make of Watford signing Jeremy Petrus? And do you think that he will start over Jeremy Ngakia or will be a backup?
With Petrus, it's a bit of a mixed one. But with Ngakia, with his last couple of games, has probably been his best games in a Watford shirt. But I think with Petrus, it depends. It depends, like we've seen with Ngakia before. He is quite injury prone. He might give a couple of injuries or he's suspended. But I think if Ngakia does come injured, maybe Petrus will start over him. Maybe Ngakia, if he's slowly coming back from injuries, maybe Petrus will be on to the 60th minute and Ngakia replaces him. Or in the FA Cup, at one point, maybe he'll come on at the FA Cup, or maybe Cup games, he'll start the full 90 minutes, maybe test him out a bit in January. But I think for now, Petrus as a bench player, maybe coming on, maybe when we're under the cosh about 75th minute, where Ngakia is quite lethargic and tired, maybe put him on. But as it stands, I think starting Ngakia over him.
Well, what we've got to remember is, and quite rightly, I would say Jeremy Ngakia starts over Petrus. He has to get used to the English game because we can't buy players from abroad and then them start straight away because they have to get used to the game. Unless you're in a case like Nesri Irankunda, who fits straight into the English game, no problem, and he's been so good for us. Would you say that Nesri Irankunda is one of our signings of the summer?
Sometimes he can be quite cold in the game. Maybe he's quite he's not really into the game, but wow, them free kicks are quite fabulous. Two in a row. I wasn't there for the one at Swansea, but I was there for the one against Southampton. 2 wonder goals, but I think with him fitting in probably to be one of our best signings, I think he is one of our best signings, but he does need some time to get used to the English game. I don't think he's quite used to the English game yet.
I think he is. I think he fits right into the way that we want to play. And to be honest, I don't think, even though we have Chakvadatse, I don't think Chakvadatse fit in the squad due to the likes of Irankunda, who's recently signed, and obviously Quad Bar, who we know is a fantastic player, and last season was absolutely fantastic, and as we saw against Southampton, bagging his goal. Moving away from Watford then, talking a little bit about Manchester City this deadline day. Now, this is in regards to Manuel Akanji. So Manuel Akanji has moved from Manchester City to Inter Milan. It is a €2 million loan fee and part of salary coverage. €15 million buy option clause, but the buy option clause becomes mandatory if Akanji plays at least 50% of the games in the Italian division, and that is also if Inter win the Serie A. George, what do you make of it? Is that a really good move for Akanji?
Yeah, I think for Inter Milan and Akanji himself, that's a good signing, because as we've seen at that game on Saturday, Man City started Kusanov over Akanji, I'm pretty sure, and I just don't think that he'll get as much game time due to the amount of young prospects Man City are bringing in, and I think they'd want to prioritise young prospects because they've also got John Stones, who is a proven centre-back in England, and I think he's just honestly a top-class player and one of the best centre-backs in the league.
Well, in regards to the Hornet Talk Podcast. Our apologies, we've experienced some technical difficulties, but these things happen, especially with this being the first time for the Hornet Talk Podcast. But back with the news, reported today by Sports Pete on Twitter. Travis Oakme, Watford under-21s defender, has joined Gillingham on loan until the end of the season. George, what do you make of that one? Is it a right move for Travis?
Yeah, I think if he wants to get some first-team football, potentially, that is a great move for him because he was only playing in the Watford under-21s and, yeah, he wasn't getting anywhere near the first team. Yes, he did make a few first-team appearances. Well, he got into the first-team squad a few times, but still, I don't think he's going to make a first-team appearance for us for at least another year. So I think this Gillingham move for him is brilliant.
Yeah, this Gillingham move is quite smart. We, myself and George, went to the under-21s fixture against Hull City, and I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. But I think he does need a move away for regular first-team football to get up to speed with senior football, because I think he can be have a massive
success story at Watford. But I think it is time for a loan for him, just to grow his development, to make sure that by the time he comes back to Watford at the end of the season, he is on good form. Ted, what do you make of it? Travis Oakme to Gillingham online.
I think it's a good one for Oakme for basically professional football in like the lower leagues of the EFL. Maybe Gillingham is the right move for him for a loan. Maybe if he does play really well with Gillingham, probably we might, if it depends if he plays well or not. If he does play well, end of the loan, he might go to Gillingham for a fee. We don't know that yet, or he could come back to Watford and maybe we could put him in the first team if he plays really, really well. But right now, I think Gillingham's the best move for him to have experience in the EFL, experience of the professional game, and I think if he plays really well, maybe have him back and maybe include him in the first team a bit more. Yeah, you would think the plan for Oakme is first-team football, but it's whether he proves in Gillingham that he's a good player. Otherwise, I think he could have a move away and then no longer be a Watford player.
Obviously, he was in our academy previously before moving to Chelsea, and then he's obviously moved back to Watford. Away from Watford just a second, bringing some breaking news. Igor to Crystal Palace from Brighton and Hove Albion has collapsed per Parkatona. News arrived as soon as Guehi completed his medical in London as new Liverpool player. Liverpool now wait the outcome on the Crystal Palace side. Now, a deal for Guehi was done, but that puts into question, is there now danger of the Mark Guehi deal to Liverpool collapsing?
No, I don't think there will be any danger for Mark Guehi going to Liverpool. And this is just solely down to the deal basically being finalised at this moment in time. And I think it's just too late to call it off. And obviously Igor, I don't know what to comment about him because I've not really watched much of him. And
Well, look, I don't think Igor is that great of a defender, but if Palace have, identified him as the replacement for Guehi, then he's obviously got something that they've seen, and obviously it might not work out for Igor, but we will have to wait and see because he could always then go back to Brighton, and he might fail at Crystal Palace, but it does beg into question, will the Guehi deal collapse? But we will bring you the latest news here on deadline day. Another piece of breaking news, and it's coming out of Turkey. Galatasaray are in advanced talks to sign İlkay Gundogan from Manchester City, with Manchester City already approving the exit. The initial proposal has been submitted to Gundogan, who's assessing options ahead of the Man City exit. Deal on. Obviously, we saw this before, where he left Manchester City and then came back. George, do you think this is a good deal for Gundogan?
Yeah, I think for Gundogan this is a great deal because at Galatasaray I think he's guaranteed game time just for the sheer amount of experience that he has got in football. and yeah, he's such a good player overall. But I don't think he will go back to City as we've previously seen.
Ted, what do you think?
We've seen all with Gundogan back in his day about 5-6 years ago. You could say he's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League at the time, but as he's aged, but with Galatasaray, one of them, I think it's really, really good experience for him to get Gundogan. He has had time at City, and I think Barcelona was it he went to before he came back. He has had experience with very, very top teams. He's won the Prem with City. He's won other cups, but I think him to go to the Turkish league, I think it's a really right move for him because you see the Turkish league and these other leagues around the world, not really the hot top leagues, but with these age players going for basically their last course of their career, the last years of their career. But I think it's a really, really, really good move. But I think it's his last chance at Manchester City. I don't think he'll go back.
Yeah, I don't think he will go back. Obviously, he's aging now. I think he's 34 years of age. But normally, the older players will turn to Saudi Arabia. But in this case, he has decided to go to the Turkish league, which for a lot of people, they're actually glad because he's not then gone for money. Moving on to an Aston Villa signing today. Aston Villa confirmed the signing of Victor Lindelof on a 2-year deal with an option to extend the contract to 2028. George, do you think that's a good deal for Villa, or do you think that
Lindelof isn't the quality that Aston Villa need?
Yeah, I think that's an alright deal for Villa. I didn't really see that coming, to be honest, because I think Victor Lindelof, out of anybody, wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. But yes, I think it's a good signing in some ways, saying like he's got a lot of experience and stuff. But on other hands, I'm not sure how old he is, if you know.
Who?
Victor Lindelof.
Victor Lindelof is 28 years old, as far as I'm aware.
So he's an older player. So he'll bring experience, obviously, formerly of Manchester United. But yeah, I don't think it will work out at Aston Villa. Ted, what do you think?
I think about Victor Lindelof. I don't really like speaking about Villa because my dad supports Birmingham City. I don't really like Villa at all, to be fair. But with Victor Lindelof with Villa, it hurts me to say that it's a good transfer, good business by Aston Villa. He has an experience with Manchester United before. He played really well. He's in the first team before he went. But I think for Victor Lindelof, I think it's a really good deal for him to get back into English football. He's had quite experience, and Aston Villa might look and go, Victor Lindelof, we can get him, we can bag him for cheap. He's 28, he's not too old, and he can have a couple of years with us. You see, with the 3 years, with the 2 years with the one that he had on, I think it's a really good deal for Villa.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I just don't think he is suited to the Prem any longer. I thought he dipped off massively at Man United. He was once a good player, but just there was a massive decline in his play, but I just don't see it working out. I want to get your thoughts on some other Watford news that has broken today per Adam Jury, and that is Tom Dele-Bashiru possibly completing a loan deal to Poland. Ted, what are your thoughts?
Tom Dele-Bashiru a loan year to Poland. I think it might be time for him to look at other options. He is my favourite player at the end of the day, but it pains me for him to go. But maybe as a player, maybe it's his time to go look at his other options. He has had a few years at Watford, coming through the academy, then coming through the academy, then being under 21s, and him getting to the first team. I think he has had a few seasons. I think his first start was in 2022 or 2023 with the first team, but he has had a couple good years. Last season, first half of the season, he was probably one of our best players on the pitch. But through Ramadan, I think him not eating and fasting really, really affected him. But I think after that, he's really, really massively dropped. And when he's been playing for Watford, he's not been looking the best.
Well, yeah, I think since his knee injury, he just hasn't been the same. Watford are exploring a loan deal, but I would explore a permanent deal on the basis that a new midfielder signs by the time it gets to 7 o'clock. But I don't see that happening. So I think at this stage it will just be a loan. We would much rather a permanent. George, what are your thoughts? Tom Dele-Bashiru to Poland. What do you think? Will it happen?
Yeah, I think it will definitely happen. Tom Dele-Bashiru will leave Watford. I think on a loan deal is quite good, because if he performs incredibly well in Poland, that means he might get some more game time next season, depending on which league we are in. And I think that knee injury Caden just spoke about, I think that has sort of brought his quality down a little bit. But we can't blame all of his skill drop in that. And like Ted said, at the start of that 23-24 season, he was arguably one of our best players.
Yeah, well, at one point he was.
He's just not there anymore. But as I said, I would experience a permanent deal with the Polish sides, but it looks like it will be a loan deal. On to some more Aston Villa news, as much as it will pain Ted. Harvey Elliott to Villa. We have got the here we go. It is a loan move with an obligation to buy for £35 million. Now, to me, that's a bargain. Harvey Elliott is a fantastic player. He's shown it at Liverpool. I think he can go and shine at Aston Villa. George, what are your thoughts?
I think that's a very good signing for Aston Villa, because I think he will definitely get in their starting 11, as we've seen in Liverpool sometimes, because when he was at Liverpool, he's been quite good on his day and he can still play very well. So I think 35 million is a bit steep, you could say, but for a player of his quality, that is a very good price.
Ted, what are your thoughts? Harvey Elliott to Villa.
My thoughts again, it does pay me to say, but that is another great deal from Villa. I think 35 million is a bit steep, but with Harvey Elliott, he did win the under-21s Euro with England, and I think sometimes I look at him in these games and I think, how has he not been picked for the actual England squad? He's been picked for the under-21s, but I don't see how he's not been picked for the England squad. Maybe Bellingham's better than him, but I think Bellingham by a mile is better than him, but it might be looking at him on the bench sometimes. But you see with Cole Palmer coming up, maybe Cole Palmer does rival him a bit. I think Cole Palmer absolutely smashes through his quality, but I think with Harvey Elliott, he still has some time to get to up his max potential. He's still got time to grow at his young age, but I think it's a really, really great deal for Aston Villa. I think he can make the first team and maybe score some goals, get really good assists, and maybe Liverpool actually look at it and go, we want him back. We don't want him to go to Aston Villa.
Well, I think Ted makes a
really good point in regards to Harvey Elliott in the England squad. I would certainly be picking him more in the England squad. He's got bags and bags of quality. I just don't know what some of the England managers think. Like, Thomas Tuchel have recently come in. I think he would fit brilliantly in Thomas Tuchel's England team. But I don't know why he's not been picked, because obviously he showed it for the under-21s in the recent Euros, but it just hasn't worked out with him and the England national team so far. I just want to talk about Fulham for a moment. Now, Fulham are absolutely scrambling for wingers this deadline day. There are 3 separate players who are a possibility. You have Raheem Sterling, who is a possibility at Fulham. You have Kevin, who's the most advanced out of the 3. But you also have Samu Chukwueze. Now, if I'm Fulham, I would buy Chukwueze. I think Chukwueze is the way better player. And, yeah, George, what do you think? Should Fulham sign Raheem Sterling, Kevin, or Samu Chukwueze?
Well, personally, I think they should sign Raheem Sterling, just due to the amount of Premier League experience that he has got. And I think he's just an incredibly good winger when he is playing at the top of his ability. And they've also got Emil Smith-Rowe, who is also a very good left mid, I think he plays.
Yep.
And yeah, I think they should only sign one of them, so then they don't breach any rules or anything, and so then they don't have as much squad depth as they might. Yes, that might sound bad, but on the other point, there might be too much competition for the manager to choose from.
Ted, what do you think? Should Fulham
be going for Kevin, Sterling, or Chukwueze?
You could say loads about all the other players with Raheem Sterling. He has that experience of Man City, and of course with Chelsea. And He just went to Arsenal. He hasn't been really his best at Arsenal. I think he's been really, really poor at Arsenal. He hasn't made the team after time, but do see in recent years Raheem Sterling, you want to call it the 2020 Euros or the 2021 Euros, he was unbelievable. Like that Croatia game, he basically ran through players and he scored that game. But on to this present day now, I think with Raheem Sterling, I think he should call it a day in his career, or maybe go to a lower league, or maybe to go a league that is not really the quality of the Premier League. But I think with Fulham, they're not really the best side in the Premier League. They're more of a mid-table side in the Prem. I think he'll be a good fit, but I think Chukwueze is the man you want to go for.
Well, I think in terms of Raheem Sterling, I think the best thing for Sterling is to go out to Saudi Arabia, because I don't think he has the quality in the Premier League anymore, and he certainly is not going to go down to the Championship, because that'll be too easy for him, because he has still got quality, but I think Saudi Arabia would be the destination for him. Moving on to another London club in Brentford. Now, Brentford have agreed a deal with Arsenal to sign Reiss Nelson. Nelson has chosen Brentford on loan, turning down interest from other Premier League clubs as well as European sides. He is now on his way for a medical. George, what do you make of it? Brentford signing Reiss Nelson on loan.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good signing for Brentford, to be honest, because I've watched a bit of him when he's at Arsenal, and he's looked like quite a good player, because I'm pretty sure against Bournemouth a couple of seasons ago that he did score. And yeah, he just looks like a good player. He's young, and he's going to be a very good prospect in the future.
Well, yeah, I remember that Bournemouth game quite well. He's got an absolute worldie to make it 3-2. Ted, do you think that's a good deal for Brentford, or do you not think Reiss Nelson is good enough for the Premier League?
Reiss Nelson is a youngster. I don't think he's had really that much game time with Arsenal. I think he might want to go to a lower league team like Brentford to show his true potential. Maybe get some starts with Brentford. Maybe play most of the games with Brentford. But I think a loan so far is a really, really good deal for the youngster. I think maybe after the loan deal, like you do see a few years ago, Dele-Bashiru going on loan to, it was a lower league, but MK Dons, for example, and he was unbelievable at MK Dons, which made his move back to Tottenham, and he was an unbelievable player from there. But talking about Reiss Nelson here, he's still in the same league, but I think if he gets more starts, maybe show more of his potential, then maybe Arsenal want him back, and maybe him being the starter.
I mean, he has potential, but I still think he's too young to get into a Premier League starting team. But he's definitely got bags and bags of potential and plenty of time to improve. Moving on to a massive deal that Manchester United needed today, obviously after the disaster of the start of the season with Altay Bayern and especially Andre Onana against Grimsby Town, obviously losing 12-11 on penalties. And Manchester United have agreed a deal with Sene Lammens. They have decided Sene Lammens over Emi Martinez. George, do you think Sene Lammens will fit, or do you think they should have gone risk-free and gone with Martinez?
I think that will be a good fit, but we just have to wait until he gets his first minutes in the Premier League, because I think going with Emi Martinez, Aston Villa would have demanded a lot of money, because I'm pretty sure that there is a high chance of him going to Galatasaray in the coming hours. And I think with Altay Bayern and Andre Onana, I just don't think they're that good they're that good as a whole, because as we've seen in the last season and on Tuesday against Grimsby, Andre Onana's just not been up to full speed, and I just don't think he's that good, to be honest.
Yeah, Andre Onana really hasn't. I mean, I compared him when they played Grimsby to player that's currently out on loan for Watford, Daniel Bachmann. I see, major resemblance between the two. They can't stop a shot. But we'll see what happens. I think it's best for Andre Onana to move on, but they won't be doing that this window. They may have explored it if they signed Emi Martinez, but obviously they haven't, and they have gone for Lammens. Obviously, he's a younger player, so it comes with a risk. But I think the better signing would have been Martinez. However, I think Lamans has a lot of potential. Ted, what do you think?
I think with Lamans and Emi Martinez, another Villa player that I don't really like, but Emi Martinez, he has won the World Cup with Argentina. He did get the Golden Glove from that tournament, but with Emi Martinez, a World Cup win is the player does come with a fee, but with this Lamans and even a youngster, football's all about youngsters now with Lamine Yamal, Jude Bellingham, and all these other players. I think football's starting to become a game for youngsters. The olders going to Saudi Arabia and all this and that. Like they're basically saying the older players should be in Saudi, not the Premier League. But with Lamans being a youngster, it does come at a risk. Like you do see a few years ago with Jude Bellingham going to Borussia Dortmund, all that 40 million, but it did come up good in the end. Maybe they want to take that risk to that youngster and maybe turn into a brilliant player for a starter for Man United and maybe be a great keeper in the future.
Yeah. On to some more breaking news. In the same vein as Lamans, there's many goalkeepers that have been on the move today, and possibly the biggest two deals in regards to Manchester City. Gigi Donnarumma has signed for Manchester City. The deal is done for the Italian GK to join the City project from Paris Saint-Germain, and the medical is happening as we speak. Along with that, Ederson has joined Fenerbahce for £10 million. George, do you think that Donnarumma, one, will do well at City, but also, do you think that £10 million for Ederson is enough?
Yeah, so to start off with the Ederson transfer, I think 10 million is enough just due to the sheer facts of his age. He's in his early 30s. And obviously James Trafford is coming in and starting basically every game for them, as we've seen so far this season. And yes, Donnarumma will play well in the Premier League, and this is just due to obviously him winning the Euros in 2021 with Italy, and obviously just winning the Champions League 4-0 against Inter Milan. So he's got bags of confidence, and he's incredibly tall in goal.
Well, yeah, Gigi has proven it in the Champions League that he has the quality to come to the Premier League and do quite well. Obviously, he's played many English clubs in the Champions League, and he's always been a standout player for PSG, but he was exiled when PSG signed Lucas Chevalier. Ted, what do you think? Is Ederson to Fenerbahce for 10 million an undervalue? And will Donnarumma work out at Manchester City?
I think with Ederson, I think it's the right deal for him. I think this might be a bit controversial, but a few years ago when Marnie kicked him in the neck, I think that really affected his career. I don't think he was the same player since. Before that, you could say he was one of the best keepers in the world, but after that, I don't think he could pick up form all too good. I felt he was a bit shaky on the ball after that injury, coming into contact with players after the boot from Nane and that. But I think with Donnarumma, I think this might be another controversial one. I think he is the best keeper in the world at this moment in time. But with after the Champions League win, him against all the other teams making absolutely unbelievable saves in the final, the semi-final, and all the other rounds, I think he is a great fit for Man City. But is Man City at his strongest point so far? Is it weakest point, or is it the right move to stay at PSG?
Well, obviously, we know now that he will not play at PSG, obviously, with the recent signing of Lucas Chevalier, and there has been a falling out with Gigi and the board. Moving on to some more. So many deals flying through, as always happens on deadline day. Always frantic and always very exciting. Al Ittihad have submitted an official bid of over €30 million for Roger Fernandes to Braga. George, what do you think of that one?
I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I think 30 million is quite a lot, in my opinion. But then again, it is Saudi Arabian teams. They just pay stupid money for every single player. They'll probably pay about 20 million for Egil Selvik.
Well,
yeah.
I know quite a bit about Roger Fernandes, and that is a steal. Roger Fernandes is a fantastic young right midfielder, and it would be so good to see him do really well at Al Ittihad because he has the potential. But I don't think he should have gone to Saudi Arabia. he maybe should have come to England for maybe Crystal Palace or someone like that. Ted, what are your thoughts on this transfer?
You do see these youngsters. You see quite recently, a few years ago, Antony going to Saudi. I think it was the wrong move for him because he did fall out of Brentford. He did say a lot of things about Brentford on social media, which wasn't all too good. It was a kind of falling out. But I think with Antony, I don't think he should never gone to Saudi. I think at the time of the Euros, I think he was one of the best English strikers. But it might be a bit of a controversial one, but I think he was. But I think that move to Saudi was the wrong choice. I think if he goes to another team in the Premier League like Palace, maybe he could be fine for Europe, maybe win the FA Cup with him if he's in the squad.
Yeah, I think Roger Fernandez has the potential to come to England, but he's obviously opted for Saudi Arabia. On to a different kind of news at the moment, and that is managerially. Today it was confirmed by Bayer Leverkusen the sacking of Erik ten Hag. Now that's 3 Manchester United managers that have been sacked in the last week. They failed at Manchester United, mainly because of the board. But what do you make of that one? Was it the right decision to sack Erik ten Hag after a poor start to the season?
Yeah, I think it's the right decision, to be honest, because I've been just looking over Bayer Leverkusen's results in the last day, and yeah, they've lost quite a lot of games.
Considering where they were at 2 seasons ago under Xabi Alonso, they went unbeaten that whole season and won every German domestic cup, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, they've just had a massive downgrade. I don't think Xhaka's move to Sunderland did help it much. But yeah, I think it is the right decision from Bayer Leverkusen to sack Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, I think obviously Xabi Alonso leaving to go to Real Madrid has hampered them massively, and Xhaka leaving really didn't help. Obviously, Xhaka has gone to Sunderland this transfer window, and he is proving to be a fantastic player once again. Obviously, formerly of Arsenal, fantastic at Arsenal once he overcame his disciplinary issues. Ted, what do you make of it? Erik ten Hag sacked by Bayer Leverkusen today.
Leverkusen at the start of the season have been really poor, but it might be that the board might still be in dreamland from 2 seasons ago when they was unbeaten the whole season. They won not the Liga, the Bundesliga, but they did only lose 1 game on the Xabi Alonso, and that was the Europa League final against Atalanta with Adeomo Lookman hat-trick. But I think with Ten Hag, I thought he wasn't really a good manager at Manchester United. I think the board might still be in dreamland. We don't know. Or they might be in dreamland thinking we could get unbeaten again in the whole season, but I don't think that really could happen again. But you do see these stories with Leicester City winning the Premier League against all odds, and but I think the sacking is the right option due to the poor results. But are they going to find another manager?
I think the manager that they will go for won't shock a lot of people. Obviously, I think the one they will go for is a guy that's just been sacked from Fenerbahce, Jose Mourinho. I think that will be the next stage for Leverkusen, but time will tell whether he will. Go on.
No, he did say in an interview around a year ago that he wants to go to an English team that is the second division or lower.
Wow. On to some more news this deadline day. Alexis Sanchez to Villa. And this is coming from Fabrizio Romano, and he has given it the here we go. The deal in place is on a 1-year contract as the Chile legend arrives for his medical, and the medical is being completed as we speak. The documents are being prepared after Sevilla got the green light to proceed. George, what are your thoughts? Alexis Sanchez to Sevilla.
Yeah, I think that's an alright signing. I think he has lost a lot of his talent from what he had years ago. But I think for squad depth for Sevilla, I think that is an incredibly good signing.
Yeah, I think it is. A really good signing for Sevilla. He is ageing, but I still think he has the quality. Ted, what do you make of it, of Alexis Sanchez's move to Sevilla this deadline day?
Alexis Sanchez moves to Sevilla. He's seen with Udinese, and a lot of questions was asked when he went to Udinese. Is he going to make a shock move to Watford? That wasn't the case, but with Alexis Sanchez, he has quite aged now. He's not like that he was at Arsenal and all these other clubs he went to. But I think it's a great move for Sevilla after they are losing. I think they've lost a few players in the likes of Sergio Ramos a few years ago. They've lost their a couple of players. Maybe Alexis Sanchez is a strength into the squad and maybe a replacement for all the players they lost.
Quite potentially. Moving on to some more breaking news about the newly promoted Sunderland from the Championship. They have really gone at it this transfer window. Rochelle Gertruda has signed for Sunderland. The medical is being completed again as we speak for the centre-back joining from Leipzig. It is a €2.5 million loan fee with a €23 million buy option clause, and the deal has been sealed. George, what do you think of that, and how do you think Sunderland are going to fare in this division? Will they stay up, or do you think they will fail, even though they've made all these signings?
To be fair, I think Sunderland will stay up this season because I think they've got 2 wins out of 2 now, and they've made a lot of good signings. And yeah, I think they've got the stability to stay up, and the fans will be backing them through the hard times and the high.
Ted, what do you think?
I think that move is really good with a €2.5 million fee, but it's what you've got to do now. You have to splash the cash if you're going up from the Championship. You see with the likes of Southampton, they didn't really splash any money. Look, they got 12 points. They just about beat the lowest points record. You do see with other teams like Burnley, they're going straight back down, like Norwich and that. Been a yo-yo team, not splashing the cash, but I think with Sunderland, they need to splash the cash if they want to stay up, and they've done it with Xhaka. All these other players have done it really well. And I think Sunderland can't remind you of our 2015-16 season when we first got promoted. We did spend quite a few money, but we already had the likes of Galatasaray. We did take the double over the manager of the month and the player of the month in December. But I think that might happen with Sunderland. We just don't know yet.
Well, I think the signing of Gertruda is really interesting. He's a great player, and as Ted said, Sunderland, obviously newly promoted, they have splashed the cash majorly, and we hope that they stay up, because if it all goes well in the Championship, Middlesbrough could be promoted, and then we have 3 Northwest teams in the Premier League. On to some more breaking news this deadline day in regards again to Manchester United, but involving Real Betis. Antony to Real Betis, and this is again coming from Fabrizio Romano. He has given it the here we go, €200 million plus €3 million fee to Manchester United. Manchester United will have a 50% sell-on clause on profit for future sale. Antony will be in Sevilla in the next 24 hours, but the medical is done, and he is now a Real Betis player. George, do you think it was time for Antony to move on away from Manchester United after a disastrous spell at the club?
Yeah, I think it's about time for Antony to leave, because when he signed a few years ago for, I think it was 60 million, he just flopped instantly. I think it was all the pressure getting to him. He took it incredibly personally, and as we saw from last season when he went to Real Betis on loan, that he proved that he is a very good player, and I think for Real Betis it's a very good move.
Well, I think Antony definitely suits the Spanish playing model better than he did in England. Obviously, he did the world-famous turn that he shouldn't have done, and that was one of the worst things I've seen from Manchester United as a whole, but from Antony as a player. Ted, what do you make of the deal? Antony to Real Betis?
Antony's one of them players that come to England and absolutely flop. That £60 million fee, I wouldn't pay that for him, to be honest. But I think at the time you wouldn't want to pay that for a player like Antony. He has been proven in other leagues. He looked really good with Ajax, but the move to Man United just wasn't for him. I don't think English football at all was for him. He did come and do his Antony spin, as they call it, and absolutely flopped. But this move to Real Betis, he's had his loan and he has been proven to be a top-notch La Liga player, and I think that move is probably the best move for him.
Well, yeah, as I said, he fits the Spanish playing model, so, let's hope he does really well out there in Spain and providing the Real Betis fans with some fantastic goals and fantastic moments. And now the next player we're going to talk about is a player that we were linked with in January. However, that failed due to Fulham being unable to sell. Martial Godo to Strasbourg. Deal done and sealed. Fulham are receiving a fee in excess of €7 million. It is a €5 million deal for Godo at Strasbourg. George, what are your thoughts?
Am I correct in saying that's the guy who we almost signed in January?
Correct.
Yeah, but for Strasbourg, I think that's quite a good signing because he's young, and from some of the highlight reels that I watched when he was incredibly linked with us, he looks like quite a good player, and he probably does, in fact, suit the French division.
Yeah, 100%. Ted, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on Martial Godo. I think it wasn't the best move to move away from. I thought in January we really should have sealed the deal with that one. I think he did go to the training ground at some point, doing the pictures and trying to sign, but it just didn't go through. I think that man was Tom Cleverley's man at the time, and I think Pezzolano didn't really want him in the books. But I think they're selling £1 million fee. I think we could have paid that for a player like him, but did we really want to? Of course, we was under Tom Cleverley when we did go for him in that January transfer window, but I think maybe Pezzolano didn't really want him. Maybe he's the best fit for French football, not for the English.
Well, what we've got to remember is when we tried to sign Martial Godo in January, we were under Tom Cleverley at the time, but it only failed for the fact that Fulham failed to sign Chukwueze. But we shall see what happens with that. So far, George, what would you say is today's best signing?
I can't really narrow it down to just one. There have been so many, but I think the Mark Guehi to Liverpool might just edge it for me.
Ted, what do you think?
It's a bit of a tough one with Mark Guehi and the Alexander Isak one, but I think the Mark Guehi could collapse. We don't know, but with Guehi coming to Palace to Liverpool and also dating Mark Guehi, but I think we could have a deal that happened a few years ago with Willian and Tottenham and Chelsea. I think they did book Tottenham did book the flights, but Abramovich did call Willian up and went to Chelsea, and there is a chant about him that Chelsea do sing if you know the words. But I think Alexander Isak is probably the best one today.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Alexander Isak is the best signing of today and of the summer as a whole. I do think that, yes, £130 million is a heck of a lot of money, but Alexander Isak is worth it. He proved it at Newcastle, but unfortunately it just ended on bad terms with Newcastle. But thank you for bearing with us. We will be back in 5 minutes. We're going to take a quick break here at the Hornet Talk podcast, but we will be back with part 2 of this Deadline Day special. See you then. Talk Podcast for part 2 of this deadline day. We are currently working behind the scenes to get Liam on as our first guest of the evening. But in the meantime, we have some breaking news. Victor Boniface has just completed his medical tests at Werder Bremen. George, what do you think?
That's quite a good signing, to be honest, because he's a skilled player. He's very good on the ball and shooting. And yeah, I think for Werder Bremen, I don't know how much the deal is for, but I think any price under 50 million will be a very good price.
Well, yeah, the price for Victor Boniface is yet to be detailed, but I will bring that to you as soon as I get it. Ted, do you think Victor Boniface going to Werder Bremen is a good deal?
I think for Victor Boniface, he is a proven player in multiple leagues. I think, was he the one who played for Leverkusen while they went unbeaten?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. I think he was a really good striker for them. I think for Werder Bremen, another Bundesliga team, I think he'll be a good fit for them.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased to say we are now joined by Liam, our first guest of the evening. So hello, Liam. How are you? Liam, are you there?
Can't be on. How are you?
I'm
Yeah,
good.
can you hear me?
All good. So let's get straight into the news then. I will just bring you in on the conversation me and the team just had. Victor Boniface and Werder Bremen. What do you think?
I mean, it's a bit of a random one. I think he's good enough for a bit of a higher level. Well, I mean, he is playing in the top division of Germany, but it's one that I wouldn't have seen come in at the start of the day, but it's obviously a move that he favours and he wants, so I think it'll be a good move, and I think that'll help Werder Bremen in the striking department for definite.
Yeah, 100%. Victor Boniface is a fantastic striker, and he'll be a brilliant addition for Werder Bremen. I just wanted to get your thoughts on all the Watford news from today, and we'll start off with Tom Dele-Bashiru moving to Poland. Liam, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a random one for me. We obviously thought that he was going to be going on a permanent deal, but obviously that hasn't come to terms. But a loan deal is okay. I think it's good for him because obviously he's not going to play. Obviously he's not the type of player that Pesolano likes. But I'm a bit surprised that he's off to Poland. I thought he might go to Serie A or even Udinese or the French league or another championship club. But yeah, I think it's a good move for him, and maybe he'll reintegrate back into the squad after his loan deal. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think of Tom Dele-Bashiru after his injury? Do you think he declined massively and it's about time he gets a move away in some form?
Well, I think I heard Ted say it earlier. Yeah, I probably agreed. I wouldn't say he declined massively, but I thought that he wasn't as in the games as when he lost when he came back from injury. Apologies, but a loan move is the right deal. Hopefully it helps him develop, and then we'll probably see him move on in the summer, but if he doesn't, then I think it's a great move for him, and hopefully gets the game time.
Well, yeah, 100%. And we also have heard this deadline day that a move for Kobbie Mainoo to leave Manchester United, there is no chance of that happening. Do you think Kobbie Mainoo needs a loan move away, or do you think he should just fight for his place?
Oh, for me, I feel like that Kobbie Mainoo deserves the move away from Man United because I think a loan move will definitely help because he's not in favour of Amorim, which is a really shocking decision in my opinion. Like, if he's playing Casemiro, I mean, Fernandes plays in that position, of course, but Mainoo, he was in the England squad, and I just think he's not going to get a chance to play internationally if he doesn't get a loan move away. So it's a bit of a tough one. I think he might struggle to get into the Man United team with if Amrin stays in charge, but I definitely think a loan move would be better for him than staying at Manchester United.
Yeah, I totally agree. George, do you agree with Liam that a loan move would be the best for Kobbie Mainoo, or should he just fight for his place?
Yeah, I think a loan move for Kobbie Mainoo would be the best for his career as a whole, because as we've seen in recent seasons, that he's just not been getting anywhere near the starting 11, and I just don't think for his career, if he wants to keep on playing first team football, that he can afford to stay at Manchester United.
Yeah, Ted, what are your thoughts?
With Kobbie Mainoo, he is a proven player with Man United, and he was the finalist at that Euro 24 where we unfortunately lost to Spain. But I think with Kobbie Mainoo, a loan move might be the best for him, maybe in the Bundesliga, like a team like Leverkusen, something like that, Borussia Dortmund, a top team in Bundesliga, or the Liga, for example, a team in the Liga who was not really the top, not really winning it like Barcelona, Real Madrid. Maybe a team like Sevilla. They've been up there, they've been down there, sort of a mid-table team. But I think with Kobbie Mainoo, if I was him, I'd probably fight for his place because I don't think there's any really competition at Man United at this point.
Well, I think he should be starting for Man United, if I'm being honest. Bruno just doesn't fit in the role that Amorim's asking him to play. Obviously, traditionally, Bruno Fernandes is a 10, but he's just not playing as a 10, and it's just not working. Him and Casemiro in a midfield pivot has been disastrous for Manchester United so far. Liam, back to you. I just want to get your thoughts on this transfer that has happened this deadline day, and that is Jamie Vardy to Cremonese. Deal in place with the Italian club until June 2026, plus an option for one more season if he stays in Serie A. Agreement has been done, and Vardy is in Italy, and he is a Cremonese player. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I didn't see him moving to Italy. I didn't see this one coming. But obviously, Vardy said he didn't want to play in the second division because there was all the talk that he could be going to Wrexham, and everybody was a big fan of that. But I think he wants to continue playing at the highest level possible, and I think a chance to play abroad definitely something that Vardy could benefit from. But I think that he wants to end his career on a high, maybe abroad after being at Leicester for so long. But for me, yeah, I think it's a good move for the Italian side, and I think that he might get the extra year, but he wants to play for as long as he can. But I think this is a good move, and I think he could score goals for the Italian side for definite.
Moving on to more news about Manchester United. There's been lots of Manchester United news this deadline day, and we are expecting a statement very, very soon. But from what we know, Rasmus Højlund has signed for Napoli. It is a €6 million loan fee, a €44 million buy option clause, and that is to become mandatory. What are your thoughts on that? And was it time for Rasmus Højlund to move away from Manchester United, knowing that this window they have signed Benjamin Sesko?
Yeah, I think it was an obvious one. We saw that he wasn't in favour as much under Amorim, and obviously Man United have gone on to sign Sesko, so it's a bit of an obvious one, and I think he wants to go back to Italy from where he was playing, and now he gets to play with the likes of De Bruyne, McTominay obviously, past Man United, who's moved on to Napoli. I think that he wants to impress, and I don't think he would have played at Man United often enough, and I think he wants regular game time. And I do think that we could see him sign for permanently in the summer for Napoli, because I don't see a future at Man United under Amorim. But if Amorim leaves, then he could get himself back into the squad. But I just can't see Højlund having a future at Man United under Amorim.
Yeah, I don't either. I think Rasmus Højlund has ran his race at Manchester United. George, what are your thoughts? Rasmus Højlund to Napoli.
Yeah, I think it's time for him to leave Man United.
because I can tell that he won't be starting as many games as he did last season, just due to obviously Benjamin Sesko joining for like I think it was 80 million if I'm correct. Yeah, I think for his playing career, he's obviously in his mid late 20s. Yeah, he needs to have a move.
Yeah, Ted, what are your thoughts on that? Has Rasmus Højlund ran his race, and do you think a loan move is good, or do you think he can go to his loan move, come back to England, and just fly?
I think with Rasmus Højlund, it's a bit of a mixed one. You do see recently that with Scott McTominay basically running his race with Man United going to Napoli and probably being one of the best midfielders in the world, winning the league with, of course, being an absolute crucial player in that. But with Rasmus Højlund, I think he has run his race. You could see Sesko is basically his replacement with that £80 million fee. You wouldn't buy an £80 million player and go, oh, we're just going to bench him for our striker that we've got now. It is clearly his replacement, I think. Rasmus Højlund, I don't think he was a really good signing at all for Manchester United. I thought he was, at sometimes he can be decent, but I think it was an absolute flop, just like Antony. I think the loan move is the right move for him, and maybe that can come permanent.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Rasmus Højlund really hasn't worked out in England, but I think he can go out to Italy, and that type of football definitely suits Rasmus Højlund more than the English game. On to another move this deadline day that's been confirmed in the last 2 hours. Facundo Buonanotte to new Chelsea player from Brighton. Liam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a bit of a weird one for me. Obviously, I've seen Herzl's comments. It's a straight loan with no obligation or no option to buy, but it seems like he's in the Brighton's plans for the future. And obviously with Chelsea's attacking players on disposal like Gittins, Palmer, I don't see how he fits into this Chelsea side. But Herzl's comments interested me because he said it's the best thing for his development to play at a higher level in such the Champions League, which is true, but if he's in the plans for the future, I don't get why we would offload him to Chelsea and not let him shine and start with Brighton. But I can't see him starting for Chelsea, but that's just my opinion. But I think it's a bit of a weird one for me, especially with no obligation or option to buy at all.
Yeah, it is a slightly weird transfer. I didn't think he was that great at Leicester last season, and I don't think he will play at Chelsea. He might play the odd cup game, but apart from that, I don't see where he plays. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, disagreeing with what you guys said. I don't think that Buonanotte will get many minutes at Chelsea, and this is just due to the amount of players that they've got in each position. They've got about 5 players in each position, and I don't think that he'll be first choice. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a waste of money, you could say.
Ted, what are your thoughts? Buonanotte to Chelsea.
Buonanotte with Chelsea, I think. It has happened in the most recent years with all these players. Chelsea spending a mass amount of money on all these players. Enzo Fernandez, for example.
He didn't really get into the team at first, but Buonanotte, I think so far he should be on the bench, but maybe he will start to click with the team like you do see with Chelsea now. They've absolutely clicked onto each other and formed a really, really good team. At the start, you'd think, why are they spending all this money? But this money has proven to be a success for them. They have won the Club World Cup. Some clubs may call it a pre-season, but you haven't won it, so of course you'd say that. You said that with Community Shield as well, but the winners will say it's not a pre-season game. The losers will say it is, but you might say the same about the Club World Cup. But they have won the Club World Cup and also the Conference League together. But I think Buonanotte, he didn't really play too good at Leicester last season, but I think so far he will be a bench player, but maybe in the future when he becomes older and that, maybe he'll be a first-team player.
Well, Buonanotte has the quality to be a first-team player. He's got bags of potential. I just don't think he's going to fit into this Chelsea side, considering the talent that they have brought in this transfer window. back to you, Liam, just to get your thoughts on Emerson Palmieri to Olympique Marseille from West Ham. Olympique Marseille will pay a €1 million total package, add-ons included. The green light has been given from West Ham. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an obvious one. I mean, he's been there a while now, and then they've obviously, I think, they've got some of the best wing backs in the league. For example, Wan-Bissaka. They've got Kyle Walker-Peters. They've got Diouf now on that side, and I just think he wouldn't fit into the team at all. I suppose he would provide a bit of depth if any get injured, but to me, it's a bit of an obvious one. He was obviously looking to move on, wants some more playing time. De Zerbi obviously likes him and favours him. He might do well there, we never know, but yeah, it was a bit of an obvious one with the fullbacks that they have at their disposal.
100%. Well, just to bring you some breaking news, and it's an official announcement. Obviously, we brought the news to you earlier that Travis Oakmead was on his way to Gillingham, and that is now officially confirmed by Gillingham itself. They have announced the signing of Travis Oakmead on loan from Watford. Now, that is a massive signing for Gillingham to improve their squad, because they needed improvements and they're trusting an under-21s player, but he has a lot of promise. My comparison with Oakmead is James Abankwah. I saw, very, differences between them, but there's a lot of similarities. Very, very similar players. But moving on, just to kind of get your thoughts on what was discussed right at the top of the show, Liam, and that is Nicolo Zaniolo to Udinese. He's set to sign a new deal at Galatasaray ahead of the Udinese loan. The medical is done and the deal is done. What are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, I don't know much about this because I haven't seen this, but I suppose it makes sense in the sense that Udinese are looking at actively signing forwards. I mean, I'm not saying this because he wasn't very good at Watford, but I don't think Bayo and Keenan Davis is the exact strike force that they need to challenge and stay away from the bottom. They lost Luca in the end, so it's a bit. I think it's an obvious that they were looking for a new choice. And Zaniolo, he didn't play much at Aston Villa last season, but I definitely think he could work out at Udinese. And yeah, I think he could boost them potentially, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, we heard rumours yesterday that Zaniolo could have come to Watford, but that isn't going to happen because it is not a permanent deal with Udinese. Again, just want to get your thoughts on something we reported on earlier, and that is Jeremy Petrus, Watford's €2 million fee plus add-ons. What do you think to that one? Is that a great addition to replace Ryan Andrews?
I mean, I'd say it's a great addition. I don't know much about him, don't get me wrong. I've heard he's quite good going forward, attackingly. I think I saw from his post that he's quite a dangerous threat on the counter attack. However, I've heard he's not the best defensively. He obviously had featured for Charleroi at the top of the Belgium division, but can he do it in the Championship? I mean, he probably can, but I just don't think. I would have preferred another option potentially, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I think he played 37 times or something last season when I was doing my research earlier about him and got 4 assists. And I think Ngakia will stay in that position, but then provides a lot of depth, of course. So it's a bit of a odd choice for me, but I'll have to say he could prove me wrong, and I hope he does. But I think I would have rather had Andrews, if I'm being completely honest.
Say that Andrews was really weak defensively, and yes, he is one of our own and everything like that. But do you really think that he was of the quality to be a backup to Jeremy Ngakia, knowing the liability of Ryan Andrews in defensive situations?
Well, I mean, I don't think he's like obviously it wasn't going to work out for him. That's why he went for a move away. And I think Ngakia, he was only going to play if Ngakia got injured. So I mean, about this, whether he can, I haven't seen much about him, so he could prove me wrong. And if he's more defensively aware than Andrews, then he definitely could do a job. But we'll have to see.
Well, I just want to get your thoughts on this one, George. Brentford have just turned down an approach from Olympic Lyon for Fabio Carvalho from Brentford. Request was for a loan with an option to buy, but very quickly rejected by Brentford. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that is a smart move from Brentford because I think that he is going to be one of their most influential players this season because obviously he's been at Liverpool a few seasons ago, which is where they got him from. And yeah, he's just looked good when he has been playing. And I think that he'll create a lot of chances now that Embremo has left.
Well, I definitely think that Fabio Carvalho has definitely got a bigger chance at Brentford now Brian Mbeumo has left for Manchester United. Ted, what are your thoughts? Brentford shutting down an approach for Fabio Carvalho for a loan deal, and that was from Olympic Lyon.
With Olympic Lyon are probably, I don't know about now, but a few years ago, there was one of the biggest teams in France. That was one of the biggest teams in France, rivalry with Marseille and Paris Saint-Germain. But I haven't really looked at the French league for a while, so I don't know if they've dropped a bit or they have gone back up to basically a Champions League spot or whatnot. But I think with Fabio Carvalho, that deal with Hull was a bit dodgy. That one, I thought he was a bit too good for the Championship. But I think with Brian Mbeumo going, I think it is really, really a good chance for him to get to the first team, start some games, maybe play the full season as a first team player and nearly start every single game, and maybe a few games just sit on the bench and come on the 60th minute. But I think Fabio Carvalho, I think it was the right move with Brentford to shut the deal straight away. We did see him with us with Guedo Bar. I think a German league opted to put him out on loan off it, and we just shut it down straight away.
Well, just to give you some breaking news now, Fulham continue their quest for a winger before the 7 o'clock deadline. Fulham have agreed a deal to sign Tyreek George from Chelsea after Tyreek George's move to AS Roma collapsed earlier on today. Chelsea have received a £22 million bid plus heavy sell-on clause as per David Ornstein, and the medical is currently underway in London. Liam, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen he wasn't going to play as much at Chelsea with the Delap and João Pedro coming in, and he did impress. I think in the Conference League last season and featured a few times in the Premier League. I definitely think it's a lot of money, and I think Chelsea are do well in that part, getting a lot of money for youngsters and stuff like that. But obviously they've got Muniz, but George offers quite a lot of threat on the counter attack and going forward, and I think he can score a lot of goals. So I think it's a smart signing. Obviously they're looking for another winger. Obviously Sterling was discussed, but it looks like now Chukwueze coming in. So I think if them two come in, and they could provide a huge boost in that Fulham attack for me.
I would agree. George, what are your thoughts on this one? Tyreek George to Fulham with a deal being 22 million plus a sell-on clause. Is that too much for a player of Tyreek George's quality?
Yeah, I think that's a bit too much because if I'm right, I don't think that he's got much game time for Chelsea in the starting 11 at least. But I think 22 million, that's a bit too much. I think he's worth 15 million at tops, and there's still add-ons that are yet to go through. And yeah, I think he will be starting for Fulham week in, week out, but it's just I don't know whether he's fit enough to.
Well, we saw Tyreek George
Played actually quite a few times for Chelsea last season, especially in the Conference League. He played most games in the Conference League for Chelsea and definitely deserved of that medal. Ted, what do you think about Tyreek George and Fulham?
Tyreek George and Fulham, I think Tyreek George is well enough a proven player. I think he's played most of the season with Chelsea and also in that Conference League wing with Chelsea. He played in most of the games. As you said, he did deserve that medal. My best mate's a Chelsea fan, and he said Tyreek George is the best player. I think it'll be a shame for him to go, and it also wouldn't be a shame because they can get replacements in much easier. They've probably already got a replacement for him. We don't know, but I think Tyreek George is a good enough player. 22 million, I'm not too sure. Maybe 8.5, 19 million will be the best for him with add-ons. Maybe you'll be looking at about 27 million with add-ons. We're not too sure how big the add-ons are, but I think Tyreek George to Fulham would be a good move for him.
Well, just to give you some breaking news, and Fulham have their player. Fulham agree deal for Kevin, also on the playing side, to join Fulham. A €40 million fee plus €5 million in add-ons. It's a long-term deal agreed with Kevin, and the deal is sealed despite Sporting pushing for Kevin to stay. Liam, what are your thoughts on that breaking news in the last minute?
I mean, I can't comment much because I don't know much about the player, but 40 million, he's obviously quite a talent. I mean, I think we'll have to see how he does, but I don't really know much about him, so I can't really comment on him at all, but we'll see how he does, I suppose.
Update on a separate deal that we've been following quite closely so far this deadline day, and that is Mark Guehi. Now, Mark Guehi, yes, has completed his medical in London, but the player still awaits the green light, and this is due to the deal with Brighton and Hove Albion for Igor collapsing as the replacement. Crystal Palace are set to make a decision quickly whether to give the green light, but the Guehi deal is in very, very big danger of collapsing at this stage. Liam, do you think that could be a calamitous day for Liverpool?
I wouldn't say it's calamitous. I mean, they've just gone and signed Isak for £125 million, which is the record British fee. But I think they needed another central defender. I think if they lack in any areas, that would be one for me. Obviously, I think George mentioned it earlier about Van Dijk possibly moving on at the end of this season, and Konate is a bit weaker in defence, and I think Guehi's got international experience, obviously featured a really huge role in the Euros, and I think for me it would be a bad thing to happen if it collapses, but obviously Brighton have lost out on Igor because he's off. It looks like he's off to West Ham now, is it? But to me, it would be a huge loss for Liverpool. But if it collapses now, I could see him going potentially in January or maybe even this summer. But yeah, it would be a huge blow for Liverpool.
Well, in the next 2 minutes, we will enter the final hour of this transfer window. Now, we all know the reason you are here, so we've got some Watford news to share with you. We are set for 2 more incomings today. They will be announced in the final hour for foremost Mendy and the right back. That will be that. More details will follow on the futures of Tom Dele-Bashiru, Tom Ince and James Morris. Liam, how would you rate our transfer window overall, knowing the signings we've made and the 2 signings that are set to be announced within the hour? Well,
I mean, it's a bit tough for me. I mean, it's a better transfer window than we've had in a while. You know, we've actually spent money. We've made, if these 2 come in now, it's up to 13 signings this window, or 12, I don't know, but the likes of Iran Kunda coming in, you've got that attacking quality. Kjærmsgaard, I think he's been really good for us. You know, Semedo providing that depth, Abankwah and Wiley coming in, Bowler. Kiprianu, he's been really good for us. I think I'd probably give it a solid 7. I mean, I would have liked to see another central midfielder. Like, obviously, we missed out on Lovric from Udinese, which is gutting. But I think for me, it's been a good window and it's been better than we've seen in the past. And I think that we've got the potential to challenge for playoffs and promotion, especially with the attacking talent that we have on disposal. But I think it's been a really good window for us, definitely.
Obviously, we await the 2 signings that will be announced in the next hour. But I think it's been a good window. But make sure you're tuning in later on to get our thoughts on the window as a whole. I just want to get your thoughts on this deal again with Chelsea. Preston North End are emerging favourites to land Chelsea striker Datro Fofana on loan this deadline day. Is that a good move for Fofana?
Oh, for me, definitely. I think I've seen a player of his caliber. Well, I've seen clips of him, obviously featured for Burnley in a brief loan spell in the Premier League. Hasn't been in favour of Chelsea, which doesn't surprise me. I think it's a good move for him. Definitely getting some game time. Preston, obviously, I don't know if they lost out on Osmajic or he's still there, but he provides a potential danger. Obviously, I think Preston have started the season off quite well, and I think that this extra striker could give them a little boost for maybe a little playoff run.
Just to bring you some more breaking news, Chio Ogbeni has joined Sheffield United on loan until the end of the 25-26 season. Formerly of Luton, he went to Ipswich Town and he has now been loaned out to Sheffield United. Liam, what are your instant thoughts on that one?
Obviously, I know he was injured, got a bad injury, and I think he poses a lot of threat, especially in this division. I think that Sheffield United have got a player on the hands there. I know they've got a lot of attacking players at their disposal, like Louis Barry, Tom Cannon, Danny Ings, but for me, he adds a lot of pace and threat on the counter attack. He's quite versatile. He can play in different positions. He can play on the wing. He plays a 10. He can play I think he plays a wing back as well. I think it definitely adds some depth to that Sheffield United squad, and I think it could turn out to be a huge signing for them and boost them potentially because they've had a bad start to the season. But I think it's a good move for them, and Ipswich getting making room for all the players that they've brought in. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for Ogbeni, obviously, as you said, Liam, coming back from injury, needing to regain his focus, and that could be a really critical signing for Sheffield United due to the fact that they are 24th in the Championship. George, what do you make of that one? Chio Ogbeni to Sheffield United on loan until the end of the season from Ipswich.
Yeah, I think that's a good signing for Sheffield United, especially considering the hard times they are currently in at this moment. I think he'll be incredibly good if Sheffield United want some pace on the wing, as he's one of the fastest players in the league, if not the fastest. And obviously he was at Luton and he played some minutes when they were in the Premier League, and I thought he was alright, but there's still a lot of work to do, and I think he will be good in the Sheffield United squad.
Ted, what are your instant thoughts on that breaking news?
And he did play for Scum. I hate him for it, but that news with Ipswich have just come down from the Premier League, and Benny has had a bit of experience, of course, with Scum Town and Ipswich with the Premier League. I think he did have some game time with Scum Town and that, but I think the move for him will be. I think it'll be a good move for him, as Sheffield United are in dire need of some players, being 24th in the Championship, then being playoff finalists to being bottom of the Championship. But at the end of the day, it is start of the season. Teams are going to struggle, but they could rise back up with this signing.
Oh, 100%. But we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, Ruben Selles is in major danger of getting the sack. But I think Ogbene will be a very, very good player for them. Moving on to some breaking news in the last 2 minutes, and it's surrounding Rando Kolo Muani. Liam, what are your instant thoughts on this? Rando Kolo Muani has just signed his contract as a new Tottenham player. That is deal done, and he is the new Tottenham striker. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he definitely adds a lot of quality to that Spurs side. Obviously, they lost Son, their captain. I know he's a winger, and the likes of Solanke, who looks like he's very injury prone. Obviously, Richarlison started off the season well, but I think Kolo Muani definitely gives them that extra push to fight in the Champions League and definitely fight for top 4 place in the Premier League. And I think it's a quite smart signing, especially with the attack looking a tiny bit weak, but he could link up really well with Johnson. And I think that it's a smart move, and I think that he'll do really well there for me.
Yeah, George, what are your thoughts? Rando Kolo Muani, new Tottenham player.
Yeah, I think that's a great signing for Tottenham because he's shown that he is very clinical, and obviously alluding back to the Qatar 2022 World Cup, he almost scored a last-gasp winner for France, and that shows that he also is good that he's alright under pressure within the last minutes of the game.
Ted, what are your thoughts?
Kolo Muani of Tottenham, he hasn't had experience in the Premier League in England at all, but I think it will be a decent signing. As I said at the start when we was first talking about it, with this new football that's being played by Thomas Frank, I think teams won't be used to it. Like under Harry Kane, the first 10 games, I think they was unbeaten with Ange Postecoglou. The first season, it was without Harry Kane, but they also did have their downfall. I think they sort of picked up a bit of form again, like Ange Postecoglou last season. I think they are starting to pick a bit of form at the start of the season, but with Kolo Muani strengthened the squad quite a bit under Thomas Frank, and it's a new player to English football. I think there is a chance he will be a massive flop, like we've seen with Rasmus Højlund coming to Manchester United and all other players in recent years. But I think Kolo Muani will be a decent player in the Premier League.
Just to give you an update on the deal with David Datro Fofana from Chelsea, Celtic have now registered interest. Celtic have made a loan approach for Chelsea striker David Datro Fofana. They are still looking to sign 2 strikers this deadline day. Remember, in Scotland, the transfer window closes later than it does for England. Their window closes tonight at 11 p.m, but the English transfer window obviously closes at 7 p.m. So will David Datro Fofana play for Celtic going forward, or will it be Fulham? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And Liam, just before we let you go, who would you say is the best signing Watford have made this window?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a pretty obvious one for me, and I think many people will back it, but at the minute it seems like Nestor Irankunda. I mean, what a talent. Obviously, 2 free kicks in 2 games. That's something we don't see very often. And an assist against QPR. And I think he looks very promising. And him, Vata, Georgie in the same team, providing service and even goals like Kjærmsgaard. We've got a lot of talent on the disposal. And I think Irankunda just adds that bit of flair. And I wouldn't be surprised if we lost him again in the summer. He just looks like a really good player, and I think he's definitely our signing of the window for me.
Overall, across deadline day, what has been the best signing of this transfer window across the globe?
I'd probably have to, if it goes ahead, I'd probably give it to Mark Guehi at Liverpool. Obviously going to Liverpool. Sorry, I mean, I think it's a smart move for them. Obviously, as well, Alexander Isak to Liverpool after all that saga. I think that's a good move. I think it's a blow for Ekitike, definitely, with Isak coming in for that much money. He's not just going to sit around on the bench and not play. They might switch to two up top. But for me, if Guehi goes to Liverpool, that would definitely be my signing of deadline day for me.
Minutes of the transfer window. See you then.
Thank you very much, lads. Thank you, lads. Good luck.
Hello? Oh. This is not it, man. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Mate, they could hear me on the live, so I was just like, I was being quiet.
Back to the Hornet Talk Podcast live on deadline day. As we've been reporting, it has been a frantic day in the transfer window, and very shortly we'll be joined by Jacob Beecher, an MK Dons fan and football analyst, who will take us right through until 7 o'clock when the deadline slams shut here in England. Just doing a bit of a recap of the day so far. We've seen many deals. We've seen Kolo Muani sign for Tottenham. We've seen Alexander Isak sign for Liverpool. The Mark Guehi deal is in danger of collapse, however, due to the lack of the signing of Igor. But I do have some breaking news to bring you. Once again, a winger for Fulham. Samu Chukwueze to Fulham, confirmed. Deal agreed on initial loan deal with buy option clause, but it's not mandatory. Total package could reach fee of over 25 to 26 million euros. He is now at Fulham's training ground after getting his medical done. Ted, do you think that's a brilliant move? And I think we expected it from when we first heard of the news that Fulham were hunting for Chukwueze.
At the start, it was Chukwueze, Kevin, and also Raheem Sterling. But I think the right option was to pick Chukwueze over Raheem Sterling's a bit aged now. He was absolutely poor at Arsenal, and they've also got their man Kevin. But I think it was 2 out of 3 they wanted to sign, and I think they picked the right men.
Yeah, I think they have. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's quite a good signing. And this is because he's got Premier League experience, as well as he's got quite a bit of skill, as we've seen from him in the Chelsea squad in the seasons, in the past seasons.
Well, I'm pleased to say we are now joined by Jacob Beecher. Good evening, Jacob. How are you?
Good evening, Caden. Good evening, lads. I am great. How are you? Well, I mean, it's here we go confirmed by Fabrizio. I think this is going to be for many, but Isak will have to be it for me. I mean, he's arguably the Premier League's best striker right now. 130 million, it's, the biggest sell on ever. So, for me, it's Isak.
I would agree with Isak there. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about your own club, MK Dons, here. Earlier in the window, you signed Mendes Lang from Derby on a permanent deal and Aaron Collins from Bolton. How have they done so far, and were they good signings, respectively?
For me, I think Nathaniel Mendes Lang has already solidified his spot in the starting 11. Like, he was already going to, but I didn't think he'd be as good as he has been for us. I mean, he's been going down the line, crossing the ball in more than we season, which was our whole shtick, was, getting the ball in the box and trying to see what we could do with it. And he's implemented that so perfectly. And yeah, he's been fantastic. Aaron Collins, obviously, we spent quite a lot of money on him. Hasn't really started well. He's obviously injured now. But I think I'm seeing glimpses of good things from him. We just need to see what happens after his injury, and hopefully it's not too bad so we can carry on and see, throughout the season if he can pick up some form.
On some more transfer business then with MK Dons. In the last kind of half an hour, do you expect any more incomings or outgoings by the time this window slams shut?
For me, no. If anything, it will be an outgoing. We've got quite a big squad already. It's a very good squad at that as well. I can't see anyone coming in. We don't really need any other positions, as we signed Kane Wilson yesterday, and I think that was our solidified last purchase and last signing. Outgoings, yes, we might have one more go out on loan like we did with Sam Sherring going off to Cheltenham. But other than that, for me, we won't sign anyone.
Transfer window. How would you rate your transfer window coming into the last kind of minutes? Has it been a brilliant window, or do you think you're still lacking in a lot of departments?
I think I'd get a lot of stick if I didn't have this as a 9 or a 10 transfer window. I mean, we've signed some fantastic players, like you mentioned, Aaron Collins, Nathaniel Mendes-Lang, now Kane Wilson, who is just fantastic. It's hard to see other positions where we need players. I was talking to some other Aaron Dons fans earlier. They're saying we needed another midfielder. I totally disagree. I think what solidifies us is how Paul Warner's to leagues above, and then he's just brought in some fantastic players. So for me, it's
come into us, and that is regarding West Bromwich Albion. West Brom have signed Samuel Illing Jr. on a season-long loan from Aston Villa. Jacob, what are your instant thoughts on that one?
I think it's a really good signing. West Brom are going to, for me, be one of those dark horses for playoffs this season. I'm really interested to watch a lot of them this year. I think it's definitely bolsters them, and I think it'll give them some more momentum going up. But yeah, honestly, I think it's a really good signing. It should be a fairly decent one for both parties as well, because it's obviously a loan. He gets the experience, and West Brom fight for those playoff places.
Samuel Illing Jr.'s loan move to West Bromwich Albion this deadline day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good sign. Yeah, I think that's a really good signing for West Brom, and this is due to obviously Samuel Illing Jr. I think was it Borussia Dortmund he was at last? Yeah, I think I saw a clip of him or two, and he looked like quite a good player considering his age, as he is only early 20s, and he's got a lot to prove.
Ted, what are your thoughts? Samuel Illing Jr. and West Bromwich Albion.
I think Samuel Illing Jr. is a great signing. He has the EFL from Middlesbrough. I think it was a great sign at the first for Aston Villa, but I don't think he was that first team quality yet. I don't think he was a player who battles for Europe yet, a player who starts in the Premier League yet. I think maybe a 1 to 2 season loan, probably, or maybe one season at West Brom, another season at some other club. But I think 1 to 2 seasons just out on loans for I think one season Championship, one season maybe a lower Prem team like say someone like Wolves, just keeping out the relegation zone but still staying in the Prem. But I think he needs to go to a club like that one season. But I think in about 2-3 seasons time he'll be up to the first team quality for Aston Villa.
Well, that's a really interesting point. Obviously, Samuel Illing Jr. still a young player, bags and bags of potential. But do you really see him in the first team in 1 to 2 years' time?
It's a tough question. You see with players sometimes maybe they already are first team quality. You see with Jude Bellingham, he was already first team quality at Birmingham, absolutely smashed it at Borussia Dortmund. He was a first team player straight away. You do see with these players, but maybe alone will prove a couple people wrong with Illing Jr. Maybe he'll go out on loan, absolutely smashing the Championship. He'll be too good for the Championship. Maybe going to the Premier League. Maybe a bench player, absolutely smash it there. And I think that could happen, and it could be he's a decent player, but not just that Premier League quality yet. Maybe he needs another season-long loan in the Championship, then maybe become a bench player at Aston Villa, maybe be a bench player, come on like the 50th, 60th minute, maybe start some games about the 60th minute, but who knows?
Well, we shall see if it works out. I think it will. But I don't think he's going to be Premier League quality in 1 to 2 years' time. But we have more breaking news, and this is turning into a saga in the final hour of deadline day concerning David Datro Fofana. Charlton have now emerged as favourites to land Chelsea forward David Datro Fofana on loan instead of Preston North End. We shall see what happens. If you're David Datro Fofana, who would you prefer, Charlton or Preston? George?
Sorry, I personally would choose Charlton, as there's a lot to prove, and then he can make a name for himself, and so then he also, for the players' expense, he also doesn't have to move that far, as he's already in London with Chelsea.
Ted, what are your thoughts?
It's a bit of a risk with either of the teams. With Charlton just coming up, they still have a chance of going down. You never know. They've just a team who's just come up from League One. I think Charlton will survive. There's much worse teams in the division like Oxford and Portsmouth. There's much worse teams like that. But I think with Charlton, you never know about them. There's a team that's gone up. You don't know what to expect about them. They could finish a mid-table side, but come May, they could be relegated. It's a bit of an iffy one. Or you could have Preston, a well-established championship team who you know is just going to stay mid-table the whole season. It's a bit of an iffy one, but I would like to take the risk and go for Charlton. Maybe you can just do back-to-back promotions. You'll never know.
That is quite possible. Jacob, I want to ask you again about Newcastle United and Alexander Isak's replacement. And that replacement is Brentford's Yone Wissa. He signed today for Newcastle United for £55 million. Do you think Wissa is a good replacement for Alexander?
I do. I think Wissa is a very good move for Newcastle. Obviously, they've wanted him for a while with this whole Isak deal going on. Do I think he's £55 million well spent? No, I was thinking more the 35 to 40 range. And then that leaves a massive problem with Brentford. They've lost Mbeumo and now they've lost Wissa. They've got a few players like Damsgaard, who for me has been their best player all season. But I don't really know who they bring in who can do what those two did together. They were unstoppable together. A brilliant duo. But yeah, for Brentford, it's a iffy deal. For Newcastle, for the money, they've had to bring someone in, and obviously Voltemada's coming in too. So Newcastle should be fine.
For Newcastle, but obviously it's just a case of adapting and getting used to Eddie Howe football. Moving away from Newcastle's business, because there's been a lot of business with Newcastle United this deadline day. Do you think that Jadon Sancho, who has been loaned, should have been, or should he have gone to Aston Villa on a permanent basis?
Well, I think Jadon Sancho was never going to spend that much. He was never going to get the pay cut. So going on a full-time thing at Aston Villa wouldn't have worked out. And then you see, that United weren't going to get much money for him. Obviously, you see now they extended his contract, obviously, for the loan to the Dele-Bashiru. I don't see where he goes for more than 35 million.
There, Jacob, but we have news in the last 44 seconds from Watford. We are excited to announce the arrival of Georgian prospect Nicholas Ciccavani, as we reported earlier on this transfer window. Work is underway to arrange the best loan move to further his development, so he will be loaned out straight away from Watford if we can find a deal for him in the next 30 minutes. George, what are your thoughts on that, and is it a right loan move for him?
Yeah, I think it's good for him to have a loan move just to start off his playing career at Watford, because obviously just coming from Dinamo Sevilla, I don't think he'll be able to even get into the squad, let alone the starting 11. I think to get some minutes, I think he should go to a League 2 team like MK Dons, as Jacob supports. Just so then he gets used to the physicality of English football, and also so then he's used to how quick the English game actually is.
Ted, what are your thoughts on that? A loan move straight away for Nicholas Ciccavani.
I've said this a couple of weeks ago. I think I did have I forgot what to say there, but I think Ciccavani, I think it was a waste of money for smashing 500k on him. I think at the start of it, he's not a proven player. I think maybe in the future he'll be a good player, but not right now. I think it's a bit of a waste of money, 500 grand for a player I haven't even heard of. I don't even know who he is. But I think a loan move to a League One club like Wimbledon will be a really good place for him. And Wimbledon have just gone up from the playoffs. I think it'll be a good loan move for him, or another team like Wickham, one of the favourites to go up this season. I think either a mid-table League One team or a higher table League One team. It will be a good loan move for him, but I think right now, I think it's a waste of money and a waste of time for Watford to go for him.
Jacob, what are your thoughts on the announcement in the last 3 minutes from Watford and the signing of Georgian prospect Nicholas Ciccavani?
Yeah, I mentioned this on the podcast, I think, last Monday. I think it's a fantastic signing. Obviously, there was a bit of kind of backlash because they've spent the money on him. But at the end of the day, 500 grand on a prospect is pretty good going. I think he definitely needs the loan. He's nowhere near good enough for the squad. I'm thinking probably somewhere that he can go back and develop, but also at the same time, somewhere where he can learn English and also have to, like, he's speaking his own language already. Language barriers are a massive thing, especially for people coming into the UK. So my thing, especially like in footballing, especially, I think that is very apparent with people like Antony. He's thrived where they speak Spanish and Portuguese over at Real Betis. So Ciccavani needs to move.
Watford news. Sorry to interrupt you there, Beach. Tom Ince and James Morris are expected to remain at Watford come 7 o'clock this evening. George, what are your instant thoughts?
Yeah, my instant thoughts on that was that I think keeping Tom Ince is quite a good idea, because on his day he can be all right, and if we need experience to come on late in a game, he's good. But I think with James Morris, I think we should have let him go in the earlier in the window, because if I'm correct in saying, Leyton Orient came in for a loan deal for him, but we turned it down. But looking back at that, I think we should have let him go to them.
Ted, what are your thoughts? And James Morris expected to stay.
My thoughts on Tom Ince, I think we need Tom Ince on his day as a brilliant player. Just what George said, I think he come on. I think he started a couple of games coming to the end of last season. I think he started against Oxford away. I think he was quite decent then, took a couple of shots, had his chances, but didn't really get anything from them. I think on his day, he is an absolute brilliant player. He's a championship-worthy player. And I think he has got the experience from other clubs like, I think it was MK Dons and all other EFL clubs. So I think we do need the experience in the squad. I think there's too many youngsters in the squad so far, but we've got these players like maybe Mendy coming in, Tom Ince is staying. I think it's a good stay because we do need experience in the squad if we're bound to go up. I think with James Morris, I think it's a bit of a mix. I think we should let him go out on a loan deal, something like that, maybe to get his potential back up. I think he isn't really playing at Watford. There's not really a use for him at Watford so far. I don't think he gets into this squad at all. I think James Morris looks a bit unhappy that he's not going, that he's staying at Watford and not being played. Maybe he just wants to go out to a League One side like Leyton Orient. I think we should have accepted it because it's a League One side like Leyton Orient. They're bound to go back. They're bound to go up. They just lost to Charlton to a wonder free kick. I think that's quite unlucky in that final. But I think we should have let James Morris go on that line. I think it's a good choice to let Tom Ince stay.
Well, we know that James Morris was wanting to go to Leyton Orient on loan, but as just reported in the last few minutes, he is expected to stay his minutes will be limited purely through the talent that we have brought in this window, obviously with Mark Bowler and another loan for Chelsea left-back Caleb Wiley. Jacob, on to a bit of chat about Manchester United. Obviously, we've spoken about Manchester United a lot this evening. What's gone wrong at Man United? Cunha and Mbeumo are mixing opinions, and some are saying that they haven't worked out so far. But today they've signed goalkeeper Sané Lems over Emi Martinez. Are the problems at Man United with the owners, or is it the manager and his systems, or does it come down to laziness of the players?
I think it's probably the latter two. So obviously, Amorim's system hasn't worked. 29 games, 28 points. That is one of the worst managerial points per game in the Premier League history. Like, that is appalling. That doesn't help. The players aren't built for his system, and they're signing not just names, they are signing players that will help. They did that especially in January with Dorgu. I thought that was a really good signing. He did really well in the glimpses I saw of him. But then I think the players are very greedy, or sometimes just not selfless enough. They're either working as a team too much and not trying to take a punt at it, or they're all just trying to get their name out of there and just sort of like say, I'm here, I'm going to run it, and they just don't have that ability.
The issues at Man United are relying on the owners. Now, the owners at Man United are dreadful. They are very, very much in debt. They're almost £800 million in debt. And if I was Manchester United, I would genuinely, if I'm the Glazers, sell Manchester United and then let the new owners pay off the debt and continue a success story to get Manchester United back to the glory days. Just confirmed in the last minute, Rasmus Højlund has now been made official by Napoli. As we reported earlier, it is a €6 million loan fee, a €44 million buy option clause, and that is to become mandatory under certain conditions. So that basically essentially means that Rasmus Højlund has ran his Manchester United race. Jacob, I do want to ask you about a signing that was made earlier on, and that was Gigi Donnarumma to Manchester City, with Ederson going to Fenerbahce. First of all, before we go on to Ederson, what do you make of the deal with Manchester City and Gigi Donnarumma?
I mean, I thought it was a very weird one, especially in Donnarumma's case, because he's just won the Champions League. He's one of the best keepers. I don't know, I feel like if he'd have stayed at PSG, they would have gone on and been successful again in the Champions League. Potentially, in the future, with Italy, he would have solidified his starting spot constantly. But going to City is really weird, and that then stunts the growth of James Trafford as well, which I thought is really weird for City. They really wanted to let go of Ederson. That's why they brought in James Trafford. Now it's going to be Donnarumma starting. If I was Trafford, I'd be extremely annoyed. And I just think it's a very strange move for Donnarumma. I thought he would have stayed at PSG probably the rest of his career.
Potentially. Obviously, he's been exiled out of PSG and replaced with Lucas Chevalier. But yeah, I think if he didn't get this move to Manchester City, he would have stayed at PSG for the remainder of his career. Another player that I want to ask you about, Jacob, is Ben Sheaf. Obviously, Wrexham have finalised their move for the player, who is set to sign a 3-year deal today. What are your thoughts on that one? And do you think Wrexham can stay up knowing the cash that they have spent?
I really like Ben Sheaf. I think he's an amazing midfielder, and I know people that support Coventry, and they rate him so highly. And I thought it was a very weird move for him, seeing as, I mean, he could play extremely top-end Championship. He was Coventry have started really well. My problem with it is, for Wrexham, spent good money, but maybe not in all of the right places. I think this is the year where they get caught out. They've spent more than most every division they've been in. I mean, when they were in League 2, they spent the most. League 1 spent, I think, the second or third most. Now they're in the Championship, spending even more. I just don't think they can continue that form of bouncing up, and I think they go straight back down, to be honest.
Actually, quite an interesting point. I also just want to bring you some breaking news. Josh Brownhill has turned down moves to Wolves and Leicester, as per Alex Crook. He's decided against, obviously, renewing his contract with Burnley. Jacob, what do you think Josh Brownhill is holding out for?
I honestly have no clue what he's holding out for. He needs to move because I just don't think it's going to work currently. I mean, leaving Burnley to begin with was sideways for me. I just thought, oh, okay, that makes no sense. Burnley would have done really well with him still in the squad. I think they could have possibly stayed up. Now I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't know what he's holding out for. I would have just, taken a move and just seen what happens. But yeah, it's a very weird one.
George, what do you make of this? Josh Brownhill turning down moves to Wolves and Leicester and deciding against renewing his contract with Burnley. What do you think he's holding out for?
To be honest, I haven't got a clue with that, what he's holding out for. If he's not deciding to renew his contract with Burnley and he's turning down offers that he's getting, I have a slight feeling he's wanting to go to Saudi to get the money in before he retires. But that's the only thing that I can predict.
Well, that is very much a possibility. I could definitely see Josh Brownhill going to Saudi Arabia. And remember, the Saudi transfer window doesn't close at 7 p.m. It actually closes on September the 12th. So, they still have time to get a deal done. Ted, what are your thoughts? What's he holding out for? Josh Brownhill.
Josh Brownhill, he's a proven Championship player. He's an absolutely brilliant player on his day. For Burnley, I thought it's quite decent, but maybe he wants to go. He wants to go from Burnley. I think he might be holding out for a team from a different country, maybe like a lower Bundesliga team, maybe a lower French club. Maybe he's just waiting for a team to go abroad, or maybe like George said, he's waiting for that Saudi money. But I'm not sure. I think with Josh Brownhill, I think he's still got some quality. I don't think he needs to go to Saudi. I think he's a top-notch player in the Championship, but maybe he wants to go to a Bundesliga or a lower French team club.
That is also a good shout. Just a quick question. Would you take Josh Brownhill at Watford?
Josh Brownhill, of course.
So I think I'd take him any day. Josh Brownhill is a proven Championship player. He was absolutely brilliant at his time at Burnley, and I think, I'd take him at Watford any day.
George, would you take Josh Brownhill at Watford?
Is it even a question? Josh Brownhill and Imran Loser in mid. And we can't forget about Hector Cipriano. Yeah, I think that would be an incredibly good midfield if that actually happens.
Oh, 100%. Jacob, would you like to see Josh Brownhill at Watford?
No, I do not. I do not want to see Watford and Brownhill in the same sentence ever again. He's way too good for Watford. He is a autos player right now. Ipswich, obviously they're low down on the table right now, but they're already kind of solidified to go up again. Those sorts of clubs, Leicester, apparently that's fallen through. So one of those clubs that are going to go back up or are going to go up is a club he should be aiming for, not settling for Watford.
News in regards to sister club Udinese. Udinese have agreed a deal to sign a from Metz as new striker, loan with an obligation to buy. Obviously, they recalled Vacuum Bio from his loan at Watford, and they have now brought another striker into the mix. I'm guessing, George, what do you think will happen? And do you think Idrissa Gueye would actually fit in their starting 11 with Keenan Davis and Vacuum Bio?
I think we all know what that signing's for. I think it's for, what's his name, Vacuum Bio, if you can call him a footballer, to get left out of the squad and for Guehi to go into the squad.
Ted, what do you think?
With Idrissa Gueye, I think he's a brilliant player. He had time at Everton, had time in the Premier League, and he was a brilliant player on his day. But I think with Keenan Davis and Vacuum Bio being his other rivals in the team, I think Keenan Davis at Watford, it was quite like a traffic cone. He just stood still, didn't really run at all. But with Vacuum Bio, he's absolutely dreadful. I don't know how you put 4 past Sheffield Wednesday that day. But I think Idrissa Gueye will rival good with Vacuum Bio and Keenan Davis. But I think right now Idrissa Gueye would start over him.
100%. Jacob, would you, if you were the Udinese manager and you've just signed Idrissa Gueye, would you be starting him?
I'm not really sure. I mean, he's a very odd one. I mean, especially at Everton, he's always been so up and down. So I wouldn't know immediately what to do with him. I mean, if he shows it in training, then I'd obviously start him. But for now, just because he's obviously not adapted to the Italian league, and I just think he should see what happens in training, but he'll definitely not be starting for the first couple of games that he plays for him.
Oh, that could definitely happen. Just to bring you some breaking news, Xavi Galán and Nottingham Forest. That deal has collapsed as the deal is not ready in time for the documents. If the documents are sent off for any deal past 7 p.m, then that deal cannot go ahead. Obviously, clubs can still announce players after 7 p.m, but the documents is the crucial thing. Jacob, what are your thoughts? Xavi Galán to Nottingham Forest, deal off.
I'm not surprised. It was a weird one for both parties, for me anyways. I think Forest have had a great window, so I don't see the point of bringing anyone in. They've brought in so many names already that now it's kind of like you need to allow them to all mix. They brought in loads of players when they first got brought up to the Premier League, and as we can see, they barely held on to it. And it's because they signed names, the team hadn't gelled yet. And yeah, so if they did that again this season, the European run wouldn't even go that far and they would struggle in the Premier League.
Well, just to bring you some more breaking news in the final 10 minutes of this hectic transfer deadline day. And Watford confirm in the last minutes there is a new face at right back. Jeremy Petrus signs for Watford. With 10 minutes to go, we expect one more signing to be announced, and that is Mendy. So all keep a close eye on that Watford Twitter for when the deal gets done for Mendy and officially announced. Obviously, we know that the deal is done, the medical is done, and it's all good, but we are just waiting the official announcement. Jacob, in the last 10 minutes, I just want your thoughts on Kolo Muani. Obviously, he signed for Tottenham today. How do you think he will fare?
I think he'll do really well, and I've said this for the last couple of signings that Tottenham have made. You know, they are dark horses for that title. They could 100% finish second, or being Tottenham, they could finish 9th. The thing is, Kolo Muani is an amazing striker. He showed it in glimpses at PSG, glimpses at Juve. So I think it's finally time that he brings his game out fully, and that be in the Premier League. I think he's a fantastic striker. And yeah, I think now that solidifies Tottenham as a dark horse for the title.
I think, as we've said, it's a fantastic signing for Tottenham. And I just want your thoughts on the Nicholas Jackson situation. Obviously, he has now signed for Bayern Munich. But obviously, we've had a whole saga about him in the last 2 days. Originally, it was going to be an initial loan with Bayern. However, Liam Delap got injured in their game against Fulham. So then the deal was off. But the deal is on, and Nicholas Jackson has moved to Bayern. What are your thoughts on that one?
I thought it was very topsy-turvy. Obviously, there's been so much going on with the deal. They brought back Mark Sunderland, and I thought that was very harsh on him. But I assumed that was only because Jackson was going to Bayern, so okay, that works. Then they called it off. Then that didn't make any sense. And now Jackson's back off to Bayern again. I think it's just been very strange. I'm happy to see Nicholas Jackson out the Premier League, but in, sight for sorry eyes for quite some time. I don't like watching him play football. It's just chaotic and it does not work in that Chelsea system. He's also just so arrogant. I don't know if anyone remembers the whole penalty situation with Madueke, Palmer and Jackson. Now you've got rid of Jackson and Madueke. Palmer's your main man. So I thought it was just I like the move for Jackson. It's very good. I think he'll thrive, especially in the spacing they have in the Bundesliga. So yeah, good move for Jackson. Upsetting for Mark Guehi, who would have done really well at Sunderland, but that's why they're going in for Brian Bobby now.
And one of the final moves that I want to discuss with you this evening, it was done yesterday with Watford. Ryan Andrews to Young Boys out in Switzerland. What do you make of that deal? Was it time to move on, or do you reckon he could have been part of the Watford project for longer?
I mean, I think he could have been in the project for longer. Let's be real here. But at the end of the day, he wanted to move out, really. I mean, Young Boys is a good club for him. It's European football. He's going to do really well. He'll start for them. He was never going to be your Watford's starting right back every game, week in, week out. So for him, good move. Watford, it's an okay move. There's not much really you can say no to for him. So it leaves someone else out of the squad entirely. So, you've got more room to bring somebody else in.
Well, one of the final confirmations on deadline day, as we reported earlier, Antony has been officially announced as moved to Real Betis in a permanent transfer. Manchester United quote, "We thank Antony for his efforts during the time as Red and we wish him best for the future. Thank you for your service." And also Middlesbrough have announced in the last half an hour Alan Brown has signed for the club. Now, there is frantic in the last minutes of deadline day. So many deals and a lot of scrambles going on for the club's last deals. And Manuel Benson is heading to Swansea from Burnley on loan. Is that a good deal, Jacob?
Personally, I think so. I think that's a fantastic one, especially for Benson. I think he wasn't going to get enough starting minutes at Burnley, so get a move back down to the Championship for a very good Swansea side. May I just add as well, I think Swansea are going to be fantastic this year. Same with a couple of other clubs like Norwich. So if he'd have gone to one of those clubs, it would have been a good move, and he's done that. So I think it's a good move for him. Burnley gives him some more minutes. All wins for all parties, really.
I just want your thoughts on this one that has been announced in the last 10 minutes by Nottingham Forest. Josh Bowler has left the club following a mutual termination of his contract. Was it time for Josh Bowler to move on at Nottingham Forest, considering there was little chance he would get first team football?
Well, like you just highlighted there, he wasn't going to get many minutes. So maybe terminating his contract wasn't good, but if they didn't see, him as somebody who was going to give them money from a transfer, then understandable. Or if it's because they want to bring in somebody else last minute, I mean, it's good for Nottingham Forest, a very cutthroat club currently direct with how they've been managing transfers. For Bowler, I'm not really sure. We'll see what comes of it for him. He's a free agent now. He could get picked up by numerous clubs, but we'll see what happens with him.
just to report, Owen Dale has gone to Plymouth, so cleverly has got another man through the door. We've seen a lack of backing at Plymouth Argyle throughout the transfer window, but 2 signings in a matter of days. There is some backing there down south. And I also want to bring you some breaking news, and this was a deal that was kept very much under wraps, and that was with Ademola Lookman. Now, he was going to join Bayern Munich as the replacement for Jackson. However, that deal is off. Lookman will not join FC Bayern Munich. What are your thoughts on that one, George?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know really what to comment on it. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
Ted, what are your thoughts on this one? Lookman will not join Bayern Munich.
Lookman with Bayern Munich, I thought early in the transfer window they did have some interest in him, but he's actually gone to him nearly joining the club. And I think it's a shame that I don't have him because Nicholas Jackson, of course, the deal was back on. The deal was off yesterday, and the day before he didn't want to go. He did. Lindelof was reported injured, and Chelsea sent him back to London to stay at Chelsea, and he refused, and he got his way to go back to Germany and also sign for Bayern Munich. But I think Ademola Lookman not going, I think it'll hit him a bit but it's just how transfer deadline day goes.
Yeah, very much. Transfer deadline day can be always a very weird one. Deals collapsing left, right and centre, but a lot more deals going through. And we have some breaking news, and this has been confirmed by Celtic and Swansea. Adam Eder has joined Swansea City on a permanent transfer from Celtic. Swansea City have got the man they wanted, and it's only subject to international clearance, which will be cleared. We have now entered the final minute of the transfer window. So in the next minute, as long as the documents are sent off for these players that are going to sign, then they can sign. You can, as I said earlier, you can announce players after 7 p.m, but documents have to be sent off and the deal has to be done. The media side of things is second, but the actual documents have to be sent off in order to make the deal a reality. Well, thank you, Jacob, for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and we hope that you have had a brilliant deadline day, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. We await the news at the moment of the centre-back with Watford. Mendy has still not been announced. I have some sources telling me that it's going to be a dead on 7 announcement, but we shall wait and see whether he has been confirmed. Well, that is the transfer window shut. It is the end of the summer transfer window 2025. George, after that, how do you think the transfer window has gone for all these clubs?
I'm just waiting for that Mendy announcement. It can't come any sooner. But as a whole, I think it's been an incredibly good transfer window for everybody. For example, Spurs, yes, they've lost a few key players, including Son. But on the flip side, look at the players that they've appointed. They've got what's his name? His name's Kolo Muani. I was about to say Eze, but no. Yeah, I forgot everybody.
How would you round up the transfer window overall?
I think this summer has been about business. I think it's been good business, but my standout has been Birmingham City with their transfers. They've signed, for example, Damari Gray from Al Ettifaki. How they get that deal on the line, I will not know. Him from Saudi to Birmingham City. He was a key player. It is his boyhood club. Maybe Damari Gray just wants to his boyhood club. He did play for Birmingham before. I think it was the 2014-15 season. I'm not too sure, but he did play for Birmingham City then, and he's come back to his boyhood club. For example, as well, Kyogo Farashi from Rennes. He used to play for Celtic. He was a great player in that Scottish league for Celtic. brilliant key player.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Ted. We have some news from Watford, but it could be something more cryptic. Watford have announced that concludes our business for the 25-26 summer transfer window. Does that mean that the Mendy deal collapsed, even though the medical had taken place? What are your thoughts, George?
Personally, I think they're building a lot of hype ahead of the Mendy transfer, just so then more fans can get back on the team's side.
Well, this will be, if Mendy is confirmed, then that will be 3 signings on deadline day, which is normally quite out of the ordinary for Watford.
And quite good for us.
Yeah. Ted, do you reckon it's been a successful deadline day?
Yeah, I think it's been a successful deadline day. But the thing about Mendy, I think it leads down to the social media of football becoming more into the cards. I think social media has kind of killed football a bit with all these Fabrizio Romano being an insider, all these other people being an insider of a club. I think so. It does conclude to all this hype and that expected a deal from Watford and all this and that. But I think it just shows that social media has really killed the hype for deadline day, because you already know from about 5 days ago that this club is in talks. They're going to sign him by this date, medicals by this date. It's about 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't know. You just say on the day when they sign him, he's in talks. Then you get us all the Sky Sports hyper deadline day out to the ground, all the fans waiting for this deadline day out till 12 o'clock at night, all this and that, waiting for this signing. But I think it just shows social media has kind of killed the hype for transfer deadline day.
That is obviously a discussion to be had. Some people say due to the media, it's kind of ruined deadline day in the sense that it doesn't come from the club first, it comes from various sources. But that's just the way football has gone. And personally, I quite like the way that it is all done. And just a minute ago, we have some news from Strasbourg. Strasbourg agreed deal to sign Ben Chilwell on a 2-year contract. The medical is done and Chilwell joins the ambitious project at Strasbourg with Liam Rosenior in European football. George, what are your thoughts?
That's quite a good signing for Strasbourg. Ben Chilwell is an incredibly good signing. And, I mean, I'm not very good with their team, but if they need a good left back, they've got it right there in that signing.
Ted, what thoughts?
I think with Ben Chilwell, still been at Chelsea getting absolutely no game time at all. I think it's a good signing for Ben Chilwell. I think he wants his game time again. I think coming from a Champions League winner to be not even been playing in a team you've won the Champions League with, I think it's a bit of a downfall for him. But I think him coming to a side like Strasbourg, I think it's a really good signing for him back to get first team football, back to playing again. And maybe he can reach his potential again.
Well, while we wait for a potential announcement for Mendy in the coming minutes, can you give us a roundup of Birmingham City's action this transfer window?
Their action this transfer window, as I said, Damari Gray coming back from his boyhood club Birmingham City. We also have seen Kyogo Farashi come from Rennes to Birmingham City. He was a great player at Celtic and. It's a great player for Celtic and a great player for Rennes. But we saw Kumas coming from Liverpool under 21s. I did go to see him against Port Vale in their 1-0 loss. I think he's a really good player. He's a bit like Iran Kunda, skilling up players. But I think with Kumas, he has more experience in the English game of football. It's more physical. He's run at the players a bit more. And I think if he got that more grit in his teeth, where he actually sprints at players, he'll be a really good sign. I think as well, Tommy Doyle from Wolverhampton Wanderers, I think that's a great signing as well. And there's a lot of other transfers, but they're the ones that have just caught my eye.
So, what would you rate Birmingham City's transfer window out of 10?
What would I rate Birmingham City's transfer window? I think from the top.
Sorry to interrupt you. We have breaking news. Mendy signs for Watford. Watford have their centre-back, and that is officially the end of Watford's transfer window. We knew they would leave it late with this signing. The transfer window was shut, but documents were sent off in time, and that is Mendy signing for Watford. And just before we go, George, what would you rate Watford's transfer window out of 10?
9. That has just made it a whole lot better. I think we needed that extra centre-back if any of ours do get injured, and I think that's just strengthened our position a lot more.
Yeah, well, just before we wrap up, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has joined us on this deadline day. Thank you to George and Ted. But there is one guy we haven't thanked at all, and we think he deserves some recognition. Our major producer, Scott. Scott, come on out. He's on his way. So Scott has helped us massively in this process. Scott, how has it felt to be in a project such as this?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's the first time I've ever done something like this, so if there were any technical difficulties on the stream, then I do apologise, because there have been a lot. But yeah, it's been quite cool to watch this. I'd also like to thank my runner and lighting and my sound and lighting, Emily and Ibrahim, respectively. They've helped a lot with today, with like setting up, cleaning, and just all around being amazing people. So yeah, that's who I'd like to thank.
Massive thank you to Emily and Ibrahim for today. It takes a mammoth effort to get something like this on, and we are so happy that it worked out in the end. Watford have had a successful deadline day, and we hope you have enjoyed watching us along the way. And that is it from us at the Hornet Talk Podcast, live on deadline day. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next week, Monday, for another episode of the Hornet Talk Podcast. A successful deadline day. Yeah.
Hold on, I just interrupt. We won't be streaming next Monday. It's the international break.
Oh yes, we are on a break for the international break. I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place. This stream has sent me bonkers. But yeah, thank you to everyone who has joined this evening and today. We really appreciate your support, and we will see you soon. You Orns.